Bland gameplay and unrealistic simulation of the bow. This is the Imperial Scrolls of Honor podcast. I'm Josh Folan.
And I'm Jay Baxtron.
And we are going to be bullshitting about the formative years of console gaming as we revisit the periodicals that covered it again. We are consulting our speak and spells as needed while rifling through the GamePro issue 13 in this episode. Link to the issue is in the show notes, as it always is. Please rate and review the podcast. We have a new review. It is from Ray Unspoken Hero on Apple Podcasts, and it reads as such. One of these guys uses the F word like it's the only word in his vocabulary. He also laughs a lot at everything. I'm surprised his mic hasn't blown yet. Other than that, it's an okay podcast. And I'm not sure which one of us he's talking about, but it is an okay podcast indeed. We will after we finish recording, Jay and I will discuss about what we can do about expanding our fucking vocabularies a little, and we'll see what we can do. But if you post it, we'll read it here on the review front. Give us validation and self-worth, or ridicule us as long as it's also funny. So good job, Ray Unspoken, because that checked the second box. Yeah. So what are we jamming on now? Jay, what are you jamming on now?
Oh, man. A lot of ESO, actually. New patch dropped. Had to get my Sork ready with his... He's now rocking an axe and a dagger with a flame staff on the back bar. So still pushing over 105k DPS. So all the stuff is in my grasp. Loving life there. Had to make sure that was on lock. Outside of that, as you can see from my background here, if you're looking live, a lot of Grounded. Man, such a fun game. Played this a lot with Zion. It's kind of a backyard survival game. They do a really good job of balancing like the open world survival aspect, like just do what you want, build whatever structures out of things you can find, and defend yourself against giant ants and things like that, critters. But then they added
like fantasy. Then it's
but it's like it's funny because it's still an open beta. Like they launch here in a couple months, I think, officially. But it's been like an open beta for like the last 2 years, and they've just been building and building upon it and adding more. And now that they've actually added like a storyline to it as well, so you can kind of understand like, why did you get shrunk? Why are you in this backyard shrunk? Like before it was just kind of like, this is where you are, and it was fun on its own.
Oh, right? so it's like the backyard of some house in some fucking neighborhood.
It's like a huge backyard. It's kind of like if you think Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, except you have no idea why you're there. And you're just like, I'm surviving, and like, what's going on here?
I like the sound of that world. Yeah.
Yeah, it's super fun, and yeah, I've been finding a lot more materials that they've added, and like they have revenge now, where like if you've killed too many of one type of species of critter, they will seek revenge against your base, and like all of a sudden you're getting swarmed with like red.
Do you ever go into the house?
Oh no, you don't get to enter the house. It's like strictly the backyard, like environment.
This is big. I don't know. Well, the ants. That's why. But it's making me think of Sim Ant. And you start in the backyard, and you slowly. The whole idea is that you expand your colony against the termites, or the red ants. the red ants, rather. Sorry, there are termites. I think too is a problem. But you're trying to expand colonies and take out the red ants, and you can slowly work your way into the house out of the backyard, which is pretty cool.
Are you an ant in that one?
Yeah.
Oh,
You've never heard of this? Sim Ant? Yeah, it was. I mean,
no, I've never heard of that.
Back in the late '90s. So, yeah, the Sim world, they simmed everything. Sim Ant was one of my favorites. That was a really, really cool game, actually.
That sounds like something I would have been like, this is not SimCity. This is not like The Sims. I'm done. There's too much Sim stuff.
I fucking loved it. It was so good because you have the red ants. There's spiders. There's ant lions. There's all sorts of like hazards and stuff. And you got to like find the food, and then you take one of your workers and go fucking like you got to like tag it and kind of and like the workers start.
Real time strategy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's real time. Yeah. I mean, it's Sim, like so real time. Yeah. Yeah, that was cool. It was a very cool game, particularly for the time. And it was one of the few things that would run on my fucking dog shit 40 megahertz SX386 IBM PS2 that I had. So it was like that all the more reason. And in Windows too. It was so like basic, I guess, from programming perspective. That not only would it run, but it would run in Windows. You didn't have to go to DOS.
Windows, not even DOS. Wow. DOS, man.
Yeah. So yeah, it was pretty impressive for the time, I suppose. Anyhow.
Wow. Yeah, so other than that, a lot of Assassin's Creed Odyssey. So it's funny, like I beat this game. It was the last game that I beat on the Xbox One before the Series X was released. And I only came back to it because a lot of Assassin's Creed games have been added to Game Pass. And so I came back really just because I thought I had the Atlantis DLC. Really, I only had a Quest starter. So I went back, downloaded it, started doing that, realized I didn't have the full DLC. So of course I had to go buy the DLC, and of course I'm like playing that as well as just finishing up side quests because the game is so beautiful. You know, my Series X, it's an amazing game. So I'm playing a lot of that, just swinging big dick energy around in ancient Greece, you know, as a demigod. Doesn't get better, you know, much better than that.
Word. That is the latest one. I don't know. I feel like there's always a new one.
Oh, there definitely is. So that's the funny thing about it. Like, I loved this game so much that I was pumped for Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which was a true Series X game coming out. But as graphically amazing and visually like expansive of a game as that is, I just enjoy ancient Greece more than I care about Vikings. You know, so like I just like I'm almost finished with Odyssey, and it kind of bums me out because Valhalla's there. I have like the Hero Edition with all the expansions and everything, but it's kind of like, but I'm a Viking. Like I just, you know, I'd rather play Origins, which is like in ancient Egypt or something else, you know. So we'll see.
Feel that. I would probably prioritize that kind of European, ancient European settings or Middle Eastern settings more so than a fucking Nordic one too. Yeah. But I like Skyrim.
I mean, it's
though.
good.
I mean, Skyrim is kind of set in that world to some degree, but they don't. You know, it's not. That's just the environment. It's not like obviously the game is completely whatever you want to make it. So there's not. It's not like you're existing in a all Viking minded.
But that's the thing though. Like with Odyssey, whenever I go to a new place, it's kind of like, you know, Zeus's triathlon, or you know, it's kind of like places that I can reference or think about that I can tie to places I've actually heard of, or you know, just for me personally, I don't know anything about Vikings other than seen on TV and like random shows.
Maybe this is your incentive to learn some history, Jay.
Right, there you go.
Don't just play the game. Have it make you embrace the fact that it can make you a better person too.
That's what it is. Yeah, but that's pretty much it, man. What about you? What are you jamming on these days?
Well, it's been a while since we recorded, so there's actually been quite a bit. The first thing I have here is it was a pretty big happy fucking birthday to me because there were 2 hot quest drops on August 18th, which is my day of birth, and the first was the Japan DLC for Real VR Fishing, so a new location entirely. And they dropped 8 of what I'm guessing will be 16 new fishing spots. And it's fishing. The locations are beautiful. It's great. I recommend you start fishing, Jay. I actually took it home. I just got back from... I flew out of Cleveland. I went back to Buffalo for the Titans game, the Monday Nighter. And the flights out of Buffalo were all fucked up. So I just drove down, got a rental, drove down to Cleveland, flew out of Cleveland on Thursday. So I hung out with my uncle a bit for a couple days. And I brought my headset, and he never fucked with that, of course. So I got him into it, and it was so funny. He was so resistant to it. He's such a curmudgeon motherfucker. He was like, he's like buzzing around the house doing things, and I'm like, fuck, you gotta try putt-putt. You gotta try putt-putt, and I kept hammering him. He's like, I gotta finish laundry, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. And I was like, finally got him into it, and like, it's so funny to watch someone try that for the first time. Especially that's not already like games, you know, necessarily modern game savvy. And because they put it on and like the questions he's like asking these questions about how to get going, and like I'm trying to show him the Guardian, and actually got it to work. I couldn't get to work when I was doing this with my grandma, but I was able to get the feed to pipe to my phone so I could watch what he would see, and it made the tutorial aspect of it a little easier. But like first put it on, and then like I'm trying to explain, like, you just got to, like, to set the floor, you just touch the floor. He's like, what do you mean? Like, I'm like, with that control, you literally just bend down and touch the floor, and it does it. He's like, holy shit, okay. And he does it, and then to do the boundary, I'm like explaining to him, like, you just paint on the ground, and like he can instantly do that. Like, again, no ability, no pre-existing anything for this kind of technology, and he's just immediately able to do it. And he's like, you can just tell. I can't even see his eyes; his face is covered, but I can tell he is like immediately like, "Holy shit, this is wild!" So he does that, and I put him into fucking tourist trap, and he's fucking putt-putting, and he's figuring out the physics, and he's like, first he was kind of like he was all choked up and kind of doing it funny. I was like, you can hold it like a golf putter. He's like, okay, and he does it, and he's like, oh yeah, that is better, and he's like, figuring out the physics and shit, and it was just so funny to watch him. It's so interesting, I guess, maybe not even funny, to just watch someone slowly, or not even slowly, ever so quickly, like acclimate and integrate with that in the world. He's like, yeah, I fucking showed him the flying thing, and immediately he's like, whoa. He's like, no, I don't want to do that anymore. It's like, that's too crazy. He's like, that gave me vertigo. That was fucking wild. And he's fucking, like, whatever. So he's putt-putt, and then I got him into fishing, and I had him do the roller coaster thing, do the T-Rex epic roller coaster thing to ride that. Nice. And I'm like, it was like, especially because he like demonstrated like a little bit of that wasn't good with the flying in golf. So I was like, I was telling him like the roller coaster thing could definitely get you if you whatever. He's like, no, he's first car fucking roll at Cedar Point kind of guy. So he's like, fuck it, I'll be fine, And he does. He was totally fine with that. So it was just, I think maybe just the shock. Maybe of being able to fly up like that in golf, that not so much like the nausea thing that some people can have, Yeah. So it was so funny. So we play that. He plays it for a couple hours. He ends up fishing for like fucking an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then we go to dinner the next night with a couple of friends of his. And in the parking lot afterward, he's telling the story to them about it, and like he's just so excited. He's like, "Oh my god, it's fucking incredible!" Like, "Oh no, like it's like immediately fucking converting people and making them fucking." Influencing spheres, and so he's definitely ordering one, and he's definitely gonna fucking be playing putt-putt for sure. And it was pretty cool to drop that on him. Anyways, so they had the fishing thing, so he was doing some of that, and then also on the 18th, Red Matter 2 was dropped from Vertical Robot, and I finished the first one of this game very early in my Quest days. This was already out when I got my Quest, and it was stupendous, and that opinion's totally backed up by a litany of awards it won and stuff. And it's set in space. It's the image behind me. It's set in space, and it's the world where it's like the Soviet Union won the Cold War, and on Earth, obviously, in our timeline, and the story takes place like way in the future in that reality. So like the Soviet Union has remained in power and then proliferates into space. And the first one took place on this Soviet-controlled planet that something fucked up on, and they just disappeared. And you were an American cosmonaut exploring that vacated, but something's fucked up going on at planet. So you're kind of like, there's like some weird, like apparitional, ghostly kind of stuff going on, maybe. But you're not sure, and you're also like there. I think it's kind of like an espionage. Like you're there, like the reason you were there is for espionage purposes, but what you're experiencing is not. That's not what happens. You know what I mean? So that was the first game. It was very good. Played it all through. It was fucking great. And the sequel, it's bigger, badder, and I cannot believe how incredible it looks on the Quest. Like, I didn't know the Quest was capable of this, and there's a reason for that I found out with the release of this, and that it kind of bums me out, but I'll get to that. So yeah, it's a first person in a spacesuit, and it's mostly puzzle solving and puzzle and problem solving shit, but it does later work in some shooting bullshit way more than I would prefer actually in this version. It was not in the first one. The first one didn't have. It was all just. I mean, you have like this is the one I think maybe you recall me talking about it. Like, it does an amazing job of like the controller that you have in real life, those controllers, the in-game like visual of those and the way you interact with those controllers is so well translated. Like the claws and stuff, it looks like it could be on, like, it could be, you know, what you feel in your hands could be what you see on screen. Whereas normally you're doing some level of, like, it's an interpretation of hands, you know? So it just does a really cool job because you're in a spacesuit of making that feel good and real and right, you know? So that's one really cool aspect of it. And the story is great. You're traveling all around the solar system in this case, not just the one planet. And it's this dystopian future deal. And there's not really, it was odd to me and kind of surprising. That first one was so predicated on spooky shit and like kind of some ghost stuff going on. This one's doesn't really have that. It bummed me out a little bit in that regard because I liked that aspect of the story. It's much more about just some really shitty thing. I mean, I don't know. I shouldn't say that. There is like a sci-fi, I guess, it's more of a sci-fi thing than a ghost story. You know, it's more of like this space, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a comparable movie I've seen or something. But yeah, there's like this entity kind of that you're dealing with. But yeah, it feels like it's something that was cooked up in a lab or is just you would just find on another planet as opposed to like this otherworldly or other apparitional type entity, if that makes sense. I don't know. Whatever the case. And weird first thing for this one, dude, this one made me nauseous. Like the smooth movement, like that's never happened. the smooth movement because you're in a spacesuit so you can like fly around and hover and stuff. And like, you know, I didn't even really get that's what was happening to me. Like that's how unfrequently it's happened to me. I didn't even understand that's what it was. Like I thought I was just feeling kind of shitty, you know? And I played for a few play sessions and every time I come out of it, I'm like, man, I don't feel good. And you know, like eventually the dipshit in me, like I do isolate the variable. I'm like, okay. And I just go in and I change it to the teleport movement and that never happened again. So that's absolutely what it was. But yeah, it was weird to me that, cause like I said, that does not happen. I mean, I fly around and fucking walk about and I don't know what it is. Maybe it is very smooth. Like the movement is very, maybe that's what it is. Something about
Your
it.
brain is like, this is happening.
Yeah. Something going on there. So that was interesting to me and I've actually seen seen stuff on the internet on Twitter and shit, and then the Rough Talk guys covered this game and they mentioned that it was something that was being reported as a thing too. So there's something about the development of this game that's a little different with the movement, and it's conjuring that in people a little more often than is normally the case. So that's an interesting thing. I would love to know the science of that, like why this game, and I would just like I don't know. Not sure. Like Green Hell also is another one where you move smooth too, and like it doesn't happen to me there. I'm not sure what's up with that. Anyhow, put the shit out of it and I beat it, and it's maybe 10-ish hours of gameplay, I would say, and that seems to be the prevailing estimate for most people too. And so it's the best looking Quest game to date. Like there's no argument whatsoever. And this also came from the Rough Talk pod. I guess this is one of, if not the first game that didn't have to be compatible, like from the Facebook store or Oculus store requirements or whatever. This is the first one that didn't need to be compatible with the Quest 1, and that's why.
Oh,
so
really?
All the games to date have had to be compatible with the Quest 1, and that's why they haven't been able to embrace the graphical capability of the two in the way that it should be, you know? Which, how fucked up is that? Like, that is a real bummer, dude, you know, that they're expecting
going
that.
Forward...
Should be. Yeah, should
be good game. Better,
should be better looking stuff, so...
Not like the games we've seen are bad, like...
Right. Well, yeah, usually it doesn't even... Yeah, that's like the thing. Like, I think that's partly why, like Walkabout, like, they don't even... They don't even attempt realism. It's like they embrace the polygonal... whatever, of the visual, and I don't mind that at all. Especially for me, it is so much more about the experience than the visual. So for me personally, it's particularly unimportant, but I understand the graphics are important to a lot of people, and yeah, it's nice that they can do this.
Dude, if they made that with more realism, that'd be great.
The putt-putt game, that would be wild. I don't know, like I kind of feel like
next level though.
I kind of feel like that game would would suffer from that. I think part of the charm of that game is kind of like the rinky-dink child putt-putt course feel to everything, you know? I kind of like that. But, yeah, who knows?
I mean, both. I think you'd have a little more realism and still keep that. You know, I think you can make
Perhaps. I don't know. I have zero criticisms for them. The new one of those, I think, drops in 5. I think it's the 29th. The 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea course drops. So next, whatever the hell that times out to be, next Thursday. They're usually Thursdays, I think. So that makes sense. Next Thursday. Looking forward to that. This one, dude. Like, there's. I mean, I posted some of the pictures and shit so you can see it on our socials. But like, it really becomes apparent the difference out in space. Like, in the base is cool too, and you can see a little bit of an aesthetic difference. But when you're out in space, there's some visuals like where you're on this early in the game, where you're on this after your ship lands on the base you need to get to or whatever it is, and you're out there on the deck and you can see the planet, and there's like a asteroid belt up in the air and then another planet down below. It fucking looks unbelievable. So good, so good. So yeah, great looking game. The puzzles, I kind of actually was a little. The puzzles were maybe mildly challenging at times, but most generally not. Like, there was one early on that was probably more of me just trying to figure out things about the game than actual difficulty within the puzzle itself. But I think they kind of, again, it's just like Subnautica. It's like I had that long fucking diatribe about Subnautica. Like, they tried to dumb it down. I think they tried to make it stupider. You know, I really and more easily received by a wider. And it's so pathetic that I don't know that is required. Or that game developers think that that's requisite for a game to reach a wider audience. It makes me sad about humanity. And yeah, and the shooter mechanics, I mean, oh god, they work fine, but like, it's just never something that I want in a game like this. I just don't. It's, you know, it's almost, it's like, it's some of those like mini game Nintendo game thing. It's like you're adding something and like you're probably just making the rest of the stuff suffer by having that in there. You know, I understand that maybe you have a more limitless capability with a modern game than you did with those old games, but it didn't need it, and I wish they'd have spent more time on the exploration and the puzzles and stuff than that aspect of it, because it was just, I don't know, very cookie cutter shooting stuff. But either way, it's only $29.99, you know, $30. It's not like I expected this game to be a $40 release, and for $30, I think it's definitely worth the money. So pretty cool. And then there's another one that I dinked with, Retropolis, something like that. $12.99 in the store, so pretty inexpensive, and the reviews are pretty good. And it's like this very small developer that kind of cares about what they're doing. I think it's very visible. They care. Just 3 guys, I think. And it's a mildly comedic take on the detective noir game world. And it's the actual story world is one where robots have replaced humanity, but are fixated on maintaining what the algorithm perceives as human. You know, so that's where like the you know, the trope 40 crime noir thing comes from. They think that this is like, I don't know, you know, something like this represents whatever, like they, you know, some movie slipped into the algorithm from the 40s or something, or probably the 60s, 70s, I guess, portraying the 40s, and they think this is how humanity should be. So this is the world they're proliferating in. And it's kind of, it's relatively comedic in that regard, and pretty good. But I'd say the actual gameplay, it's kind of short. It's not particularly challenging again on the puzzle front, but it is cute and still engaging. And for $12.99, I mean, it's fucking very reasonable buy, I think, if you just want, you know, a few hours, something to kill a few hours while you're waiting for something to fucking drop, something else to drop. And the last couple things are emulation joints. I fucking tagged you in it, man. But yeah, I finally got to play Bonk's Adventure with some level of
first of all, why? Like,
because
come to me with why.
I played it. It was on the flight to Buffalo for the game, so it was on my new emulator, and I clocked that that it had a TurboGrafx 16. It actually runs on RetroArch. It runs on RetroArch, so. Okay. It had the what are they, cores they're called for that. So I was like, ooh, I can play all those fucking games I've been downloading and wanted to, that for some reason my laptop shit it out on. So I saw that when I fired up and started playing it. And yeah, dude, it's, man, like, it's so good. The graphics are so good for that era, and the mechanics with him are really cool and fun with the head thing, and like he uses it as a tool in all these ways, and like the interaction with the enemies, like all varied, all good sprite art, all interesting. The boss battle at the end of the first level, I only played through the first level, but are all three. It's like I think like kind of Mario-esque in like a 1-2-1 or 1-1 1-2 1-3 kind of situation. Bosses in 1-3, I think is how it works. And yeah, the boss battle was fucking awesome and fun. And I mean, just like we saw the boss artwork in the ad, and we pointed out how great it looks. They look great in motion too, like really, really good. And yeah, I mean, like I said, it's not part of what we're doing, but it's a really fucking fun game. And I think it would be a great tangent episode. I don't know what we call that. Instead of random rags, random fucking carts or something. I don't know. But like that, I think it will be a really, really fun playthrough to do and talk about. Yeah, I mean, right up there, as far as like action platformers from that era go, I mean, it's in the Sonic and Mario world, I think, as far as like likability of the character and the personality they gave that character in the game and the story world. Like it's not, there's nothing cookie cutter about any aspect of it. Every aspect, every step of it felt original to me and well done and cared about, and it all felt good. The control, everything felt good. It was really well done, I thought. So that is my soapbox on Bonk's Adventure. And then last but not least, I copped the new Tecmo Super Bowl for both NES and Genesis. And I was texting you and Jab about this. When I was like, that was like the whole impetus. Like I found out my GPXD handheld emulator was bricked for some reason when I was flying to New York. Right before the season started, and like my whole part of my ritual is playing Tecmo Super Bowl while I'm flying to and fro these places for the games. So when I found out my XD was bricked, I was like freaking out. I was like, I gotta get a new one. Like I did a bunch of YouTube tutorials and tried to unbrick it, but I couldn't. Nothing was working. So I was like, I gotta get a new one. So I bought this Abernick thing off Amazon after a whole shit ton of googling around for options on handheld emulators, and this one's pretty good. It's like I said, it's Linux based as opposed to Android, which the XD was Android. So it's not like, it doesn't like the XD, and I never use any of this anyways, but the XD, because it runs on Android, you download apps, you could use you can watch Netflix on, do whatever you want. I never used it for that purpose, but that option at least existed. With this, it's just an emulator, and it has like it runs off RetroArch, so it has that going on, and it also has this, I forget what the name of it is, but it has like this other front end thing built out of it. So it has like this really clean looking, very snazzy menu screen that allows you to go through all the different game systems. But that's all it does. You can't do anything else on it. So, and like I said, I don't want that out of my machine anyways. This is like half the price of an XD anyhow. It was $160 on Amazon. So I think that's very fair. But the screen's bigger. The control, it all feels great. It looks great. It's the 351 MP, I think, is the model, which is I think it's 640 by 480 is the resolution on the thing. So that's like twice the resolution we used to get for these games. So everything looks great, and it plays. I mean, it can run up through Gen 1, I think. I think it's 64. Does it do GameCube? It definitely does 64 on PlayStation 1. It might go one more too, like GameCube and PS2, but I'm not sure offhand. Like I don't really want to emulate those anyway. So yeah, I can't even think offhand if it does. But yeah, I mean, all the arcade stuff you want, like all that shit, and it comes preloaded with a shit ton of stuff too, which is cool. So yeah, I mean, I would say whatever. But so yeah, I've been playing on that. So I went to techbowl.org to download the new one, and they didn't have the one that they released wasn't out yet. So they have the little forum on the right hand side of their website, and it's where people post about their modded versions. And the one that seemed to have the most traction for the NES is this S Blue Man Tecmo is the person's name, and they got a Twitter account and stuff too, so you can find their website, and I'll put that in the show notes. But he's done a ton of quality of life improvements to it. He moved the PATs back to where they're actually at now instead of, I can't believe no one's made a 2-point conversion option yet. It's the one thing that it seems very doable to me. You're just running a play from the 2. I'm surprised that no one's gotten to that yet. But he did move the kick back to where it's supposed to be and kind of changed the kicking mechanics too. And yeah, there's a lot of just little quality of life improvements, updated rosters, of course. And I'll be doing my weekly Road to the Super Bowl quest live streams throughout the season. I actually haven't gotten around to the Dolphins one this week because life and shit. But I'm probably going to do it after in between editing here. But yeah, so I'll be doing that every Wednesday probably. And I was fucking one other little anecdote about this. I was fucking around with him on Twitter, and he was talking about dropping the new like updated rosters on the 8th or something like that. And I was like, and this was after the Rams game where the Bills beat the shit out of the Rams. So I was like, I assume this new update will have baby Jesus at all hundos, right? As far as his attributes go. And he's like, ha ha ha. And then like a day or two later, he fucking direct tweets me and he's like, with a link, he's like, he made a mod for me specifically with all 100s for baby Jesus. And you know, he's of course incredible in the game as a result, but it's too much of he's too good. I'll be in the pocket trying to like wait for a receiver to get open and just run out of bounds or something, or like run into a defensive player because I'm running so fucking fast that I can't even like, control the dude. So yeah, he's like fucking crazy good, but pretty fun and pretty cool of him. So yeah, he's pretty good about engagement and shit. And I'm sure if you had feedback or whatever, he'd probably be all about it. And it seemed to be the one that people are most into right now as far as the people modding these. So yeah, highly recommend it. Really good. There's a hard type version too. I was texting you guys about where he added new music to the game, and you know there's even more functionality differences in that including the AI. I'm pretty sure. I can see a difference in the way the game's playing, you know. So it's a little because the natural arc of the AI in Tecmo Super Bowl is kind of throughout the season the game gets harder, and it's like Tecmo hard. So you know it's like it's not really any harder. It's just like more stupid shit happens. You know what I mean? So and that just gets progressively worse throughout the season. By the end of the season, you know I'm usually to the point by week 17 in the playoffs where like there's like 2 of the 8 plays that I can run, they're picking it half the time, and you got to have a quick, an easy hot read because they're picking your plays constantly, and like I end up running with Josh Allen more because they're fucking all the receivers are always covered, you know, like it's just like little dumb shit like that as opposed to, of course, there's only so much variance that game can possibly introduce as far as challenge goes, you know, so whatever. But this one, I think he's balanced that a little bit more and made it a little more uniform throughout and playable essentially. So yeah, highly recommend that version, the hard type version. Okay, let's talk about GamePro 13.
That is the Skate the Jam theme from Skate or Die on the good old NES, bringing us into this little late to the party GamePro cover.
Yeah, it absolutely is. It's August 1990. It's got a $3.95 US dollar cover price, $4.95 Canadian, and UK pounds is $2.50. And I didn't clock it on the last GamePro, the TMNT cover one, but that is when they started putting the UK pound price on here. And I find that to be a funny, odd happenstance that we do that random rag up on UK-based Sega Mania in between these 2 issues where that's first the case. That's kind of funny to me, you know. Funny little random happenstance thing. And yes, it is a day late and $1 short with the cover feature. It's a legit live-action photo, the first of those for the mag, I believe, of, yes, Michael Jackson. And that's because they're giving the cover shine to Moonwalker here, which we enthusiastically covered in a game ep after the last GamePro. And their tagline here is, check out one smooth criminal in our Part 2 Pro View. And the other things they tout here are 24 pages of blockbuster new games. And then it lists off Captain Skyhawk, Spot, Aerial Pursuit, Budokan, Boulder Dash, Devil's Crush. And that is the list you might hand someone if they asked you for the exact opposite of a list of 1990 blockbuster video games. You know?
Right? Yeah. Right? I read that and I was like, I do not think that means what you think it means.
Right, yeah, right. And yeah, then they mentioned Skate or Die, and their tagline for that is "Get Rad and Bad" in this NES special feature. And lastly, we have NEC Color Handheld Turbo Chips to go. Moving into the mag, we get a smattering of NES ads we've seen: Dungeon Magic, Zezzy's, Captain Skyhawk, and Cabal to get us to the TOC. And they have a little Francis Mao Adventures of GamePro art here, where Todd is lying in a beach chair in the sand, nothing but swim trunks on, a tiki beverage in hand, scuba flippers on his feet, and a bodacious babe draped all over him. And the speech bubble reads, "Hey, Zardoth gave me some time off. See you all next month." And I guess that means no comic this issue.
Darn.
Francis himself must have been on vacation is my best guess, which seems to line up quite well with this being the first live-action photo cover. He wasn't there to do their cover either, so they were like, "Oh, I guess we gotta pay for a fucking Michael photo," or maybe who knows what they had to pay. That's a great question.
It looks like they just kind of cut it out from.
Right? Yeah. We've covered extensively that their photo, like their layout capabilities based on these TOC fucking bullshits are not the best. So yeah, live action is not probably their it's not their wheelhouse.
I'd say not.
Yeah, they're much better off with Francis doing an illustration for him. After that, we have a HAL Labs rollerball ad that gets us to the letter from the GamePro section. And this is actually a new ad that we don't see a lot of those out of HAL. It's usually just the same tired shit, that one like 4-pager actually with Adventures of Lolo and the pinball game and all that. But yeah, this one's new, and it kind of has a Far Side comic vibe to the illustration. It's a dude sitting in front of his TV in horror as a pinball comes rocketing out of it, shattering the screen. And that made me think about Far Side comics, of course. And were you a Far Side comic kid, Jay? Was that something you were hip to as a kid?
Yeah, I definitely read some Far Side whenever I saw it. Yeah, it was definitely like, you knew it was a little different take than what you get out of your Peanuts comics.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was a little more elevated, and yeah, for that reason, like I don't remember having an affinity for it until a little later, like just preteen and then early teens is when I kind of got into it. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I started getting, I can't remember who it was, but someone started buying me the calendars every year for Christmas. So there were a few years in a row where I had a Far Side calendar, and I remember being eager to rip off the new one every day and see what the new comic was. So that's a cool memory.
My aunt, whenever I would go over her house, like she would always have like the comics. Like she would always have them. Yeah, she would always have the new ones. Yeah.
Yeah, my uncle. Yeah, we didn't get the paper at my house because we probably. Well, no, they had paper boxes out from them. We didn't get one, I don't think. Or maybe we did actually. It might be fucking me lying, saying my childhood was worse than it was. We might have had, I can't remember if we did or not at home. But yeah, I mean, I remember definitely whenever I got anywhere near a newspaper, I would find the Best Buy ad, and I would take the comics out and read those things for sure. Yeah, I was Garfield. I always could not get enough Garfield comics. I had 100% all the books.
Garfield, yep.
I had all the, or not all the, but I had a bunch of books of them. And I don't know if you remember, that was like a classic book club thing too. And the Garfield books were all shaped funny. They were all had that like, it was like a longer, kind of a 16:9 shape and size to them that obviously lent itself to comic strips more than normal size or normal book layout. I remember those fondly as well. Anyhow, this also mentions the Nintendo World Championships in their ad, and HAL's presence at it, so I think we've answered our question about developers using this as a badge of honor for nothing more than having a booth at what must have been an accompanying trade show. Like my point being, HAL Labs games were not invited to any special. I mean, Adventures, we like Adventures of Lolo, but I still don't think Nintendo viewed that as like a essential game.
Yeah, this is the competition level, like, showcase game.
No, not the case. That's a niche thing for sure. So the letter is headlined Survival of the Fittest, and it deals in the editorial staff's takeaways from the recently attended Consumer Electronics Show in Chicago. And there's some nice infographic fodder that is in here in the number of licensees for each of the Nintendo, Sega, and NEC licensee representatives or whatever, and the numbers for those are 55, 20, and 10 respectively. So 55 Nintendo, 20 Sega, 10 for NEC, and Nintendo was dominating, like Josh Allen. Some first-timer ads follow that up. Hal, Jalico, Asmic. Hal's is a full pager for those Game Boy puzzlers they've been hammering us over the head with forever now. Shanghai and Revenge of the Gator. That, I never really fucked with either one of them. But I do, this illustration did stand out to me a little bit more than the previous ones in that there's a dragon standing on mahjong tiles on the left, and then a gang of gators on the right, and there's a super cute Lolo standing between them for no reason I can tell other than to act as a quasi-Hal mascot.
Right?
Yeah. So they're like battling each other, and like the gators are trying to climb over get over the wall, and so it's just it's a cool, it doesn't really have anything to do with it does show the game, elements from the games too, but it's more just kind of a look at this cute thing, I think, and that's a good ad because I looked at it.
It's great marketing. It's just, it's still those two games. Like they have these great ideas. If they were different games, it probably would have gone much better.
Yeah.
Really.
Yep. Jalico's ad is a two-banger for Asenax that is really pitching it hard. It's got some live-action artwork that is in the style of their sports titles where things are being projected out of the TV in some kids' living room. And they actually I thought this was really cool. They have the Nintendo Power Meter in the corner of the artwork, which I don't believe we've ever seen before. And it's a 77.5%, and I guess that is solid enough to tout. But it's really fun to me that this is in a competing mag. There's something about that is I enjoy.
Hey, they're using everything they can, right?
Yeah,
I like it. It almost says something to me too that they've elevated it to almost like live action sports status, to your point that they use the same graphics that they would have done on like the other sports games. So it's kind of like they're going big on this. Clearly they believe in Asterix.
Yep. And Asmic's ad is mostly shit we've seen, albeit in a new layout, but they do tease an NES game we have not seen here, Worm. And this isn't out till late next year, November 91, and is released under the title Worm, Journey to the Center of the Earth. And that tennis game of theirs is pretty solid. Maybe this will be hot also. We shall see. The mail comes next, and what do we got this month? The first, I kind of enjoyed Steve Bear of Ocala, Florida, who I know from recent Florida experience was surely miserable and sweating his ass off in August 1990 when he wrote this letter. But he is writing in to bitch about games and Sega ads in their mag not being out yet.
That's great.
It is. And Pat Riley's basketball is the one he's peeved about specifically. And the editor is just like, dude, it's not our problem, dude. It's Sega. Like, talk to Sega. They pay us. We put the thing in the magazine. We don't ask questions. Like, if they, the actual availability of it is up to the fucking publisher. Like, it has nothing to do with us. So, like modern day, that would just be a tweet. It would just be someone agitated to it. And like the idea that someone put in so much effort to write in a letter and these motherfuckers got to publish it and put it in a magazine and the person's got to read it. It's just like, there's just so much to that flow chart that I just enjoy so much, that like so much wasted fucking brain.
Right. Like you don't
activity.
even know how marketing works, sir. Like that. Generally, people like to generate hype for a game coming out. If you can have the funds to do so, that means promoting the game before it comes out.
Right.
That doesn't mean I saw a commercial, I'm immediately running to the store.
Right. Especially back then, like everything moved so slowly back then. Like, what do you? Hilarious. There's a lot of action here about the high scores feature. Some even some chatter from Milford, Ohio about it. And it's revealed here that they omitted it from this issue so they could redesign it to include TurboGrafx scores. So I guess those weren't present before. I didn't even notice. But it makes no mention of putting locations again. So it's actually interesting for our podcast, which I find to be a huge oversight by them.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Egregious.
And then the last one that meant anything to me was we get a sign from the Retro Video Game Podcast gods. Theo Valoria of Mission Viejo, California, is saying he loved the first two Phantasy Stars and wants to know when the third installment drops. Side quest, anyone? Jay? Any other letters do anything for you here?
Only the Mike Woods one, where he pretty much was talking about this being the hottest thing outside of like Patty Mills at his high school or something. So that was pretty funny.
I don't know who Patty Mills is. Who is Patty Mills?
I don't know, or Jamie Mills. This apparently the hottest girl in his school. So
I thought it was like a movie. I thought it was like a movie thing. I didn't remember this one. I thought it was like
purely his own personal reference. I appreciate the humor. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, that is good. I wonder because it got published. You have to wonder, did he try to work that into a sales pitch of some kind for himself to her?
You never know, like, hey, check this out,
Yeah, look.
Wonder how that worked out for you, Mike.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're listening, email in or fucking message us and let us know if you two are married today. So that is followed by a full pager for a feature film, and I believe it's the first time we've seen that in GamePro 2, except maybe there was some wizard shit, but that obviously makes more sense being a video game themed movie. So the film here is Arachnophobia, a July 18th release directed by Frank Marshall and starring some pretty fucking fire individuals by my measure. Jeff Daniels and John Goodman are the ones that I really enjoy out of that cast. And I don't know, like it's funny to me, like this movie has significance in my mind, but I don't think I've ever seen it in its entirety. And I kind of recall wanting to as a kid, but never doing so. Spiders have always terrified me, so I may have actually had some conscious unwillingness to do it. And I think I tried recently, and it was way too campy. I couldn't stick with it, even though like John Goodman, I think is like a really entertaining character performance in this. But I don't think I could stick with it. Does this movie mean anything to you at all?
I mean, I definitely remember it back in the day. I remember it being a big thing, but kind of like you, I don't recall like the details of the movie. I'm thinking back and I'm like, I don't was it too scary and therefore I knew it was out but didn't get to watch it? Like at this time I'm like 10 years old.
July
so maybe
18th,
my kids didn't, or maybe my parents didn't let me watch it. I don't know. But I definitely remember it. But it also threw me off seeing it in the mag because for a second I'm like, is it a game? Like, did they make a game out of it?
Right.
Oh, no, they're just advertising the movie. Okay, got it.
Right, which is, because it is, this is a kid's magazine. Yeah, there are adults reading it, and they know that, but this is a kid's magazine, so that's an interesting choice.
Maybe they're trying to get ahead of the adults play too curve.
Yeah, perhaps. It's Steven Spielberg's involved. And if you look at that ad, like it's got some ET vibes as far as the poster goes.
Definitely.
So I think they're trying to play off ET a little with the design of that. So that's interesting. After that, we get some subscribe to GamePro action and that tired-ass dodgeball ad, and that takes us to Cutting Edge. As teased on the cover, they are telling us all about NEC's answer to the Game Boy, the Turbo Express handheld. And I have never heard or seen anything on this in my entire fucking life, so it's relatively safe to say it didn't land as well as they might have hoped from a marketing and distribution perspective. And it's expected to drop in November. It's pretty pricey, $250. And even more than the TurboGrafx home console at the time, which was priced at $189. So, that's expensive. But this bad boy, as far as the technical specs go, has a backlit color screen, can be turned into a TV with an $80 tuner add-on. It's about the same size and dimensions as a Game Boy, which I think, is better than the Game Gear in that regard. It's not even out yet because it's just more portable and I think a better dimension. And here's the real fucking kicker that blows me away. It plays the home console turbo chip cards. So it's completely interchangeable. You don't need to buy separate games. And that seems like a huge savings. You know what I mean?
I remember hearing about this and thinking it was amazing as a kid, but it was kind of one of those things like, I don't have the money for that. I don't buy those games, that system. Like, it sounds awesome, but what do you want me to do? I'm 10.
Like I said, I cannot stress enough. The only memory I have of TurboGrafx 16 in my entire childhood is a kid in the lunchroom in like 3rd or 4th grade that had Bonk's Adventure, like the card. He had the game with him. And I remember looking at it, and it's like a little card, and just thinking to myself, like, what the fuck is that? And like, end of memory. end of memory. Like that's it. That's the only TurboGrafx. Just like no.
Well, we've already talked how you lived in a sheltered gaming situation. Like you missed out on some things.
That's true. That's true enough. It was definitely all Nintendo all the time. That's fair. So they say it looks and plays great. It has 3 to 5 hours of battery life on EEC 6 AAAs or AA's rather, which is way better, if true, than the yet-to-be-released Game Gear battery reputation. So even though it's a lot of batteries, but it does have better battery life. And I don't know, man. Like I don't get why this didn't get any traction at all. If this if all the above is true, I just can't understand how this wasn't.
The TurboGrafx, if that had wider acceptance, I think you would have seen this
right
potentially. Because it's kind of like. It's one of those things to me. Like I said, it sounds amazing, looks graphically great, but at the same time, like at the time, I'm thinking Nintendo is the greatest. That's where all the games and everything is. This looks great,
Right.
but it's more
And you just
money.
said it in there. It's software. It's because software drives console sales.
Like, I don't know what amazing games it had. Like, it's like the Jaguar, like the Atari Lynx, those things. Like they looked great.
But
graphically.
What do I do with that?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I wanted one. It looked great, but like I never saw anything else about it, and I went back to playing Nintendo or shit.
Yeah, right. Go back to yeah, that's all true. But still, yeah, just it sounds awesome.
Yeah, definitely dope.
Then after that, we get that wacky ass thumb con demand, and that gets us to Hot at the Arcades, where they're covering Williams' Smash TV and Konami's Aliens. And I have legitimately nothing to say about either of those. I've never seen them in the wild in my entire life. Have you ever played either of those games? Yeah,
I've seen Smash TV, and I was just like,
I know Smash TV on NES. I can't remember ever seeing it in an arcade.
Yeah, no.
Then we get a full pager proving the claim will license absolutely anything, this instance being Bigfoot. And the monster truck, of course, not the ape going through the woods. And this dropped in July, so we have a Game Ep eligible release on our hands here. And this is, yeah, everyone knows. Not reading my notes. So this is not Bigfoot the missing link primate. It's Bigfoot the king of monster trucks. That's my note here. And the ad is basically just one huge live action photo of the big blue truck popping a wheelie as it tramples numerous cars below it. And they have a couple screenshots that seem to imply there's more than one game mode and a handful of extreme passages of marketing copy. Crash and bash your way to the finish line. Go head to head in the mud race, car crunch, and other monster truck events. Which, yes, had me thinking minigame city, and that scared me, to say the least.
Yeah, hard pass.
Did you not play it?
I definitely did not play this, because I recall this being one of those games that has pretty font, attractive, and it's like, oh, eye-catching, but at the same time, I'm not a Bigfoot type of person. I'm just kind of like...
Yeah, I didn't even think to delve into that. Yeah, I didn't. I was also not... I had a Bigfoot Power Wheel. I had that Power Wheel. That with the Bigfoot licensed Power Wheel. I had that one, and I loved the fuck out of it for sure. But it did, the fact that it was
one that you ride in.
Yeah, the Power Wheel.
Of course,
man, the one
you did.
That
would be freaking amazing. Like I would.
Yeah, no,
that was every kid's
dream. It was fucking
dream.
incredible. Yeah, no, it was unbelievable.
You know what? Everything you've ever said about your childhood is all like.
Yeah.
That means you had the best childhood ever.
I have never. I would never purport that I did not have toys. I was given. I was well taken care of on the toy front. I got a lot of what I wanted, and even a lot that I don't even remember asking for that. That was just like some shit that showed up that my dad probably thought was cool. That I remember, and yeah, my grandma on my dad's side spoiled the shit out of me too. Like I had plenty of toys. All the things wrong with
the dream toy that I never had. That's
all the things wrong with my childhood had nothing to do with material things. It was other stuff. But yeah, it was fucking cool for sure. I remember, they had like these I remember like you had to charge he had this like battery charger, and it was like a fucking, it had like jumper cables that you had to charge it with. It was it was like the real deal, dude. It was a serious thing. It's honestly. I don't know. It's not. It's it probably only goes like 4 miles an hour or something. But like it seems like my memory of it seems so much more dangerous than it probably is for it. But even if I don't feel like these are not things we're giving children today, is it? Like, do your kids have any?
They definitely still have them. My kids don't have them, but they definitely still make them.
Do they still? 100%. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess whatever. Even if that's not like kids used to fucking ride those shitty big wheels and shit like off ramps and stuff.
I love the big wheel. That was awesome. Yeah, that was like the next best thing.
Yeah. I think I had a Batman big wheel maybe when I was a kid. Anyhow, so I did fire this up. It's not nearly the trash fire a licensed Bigfoot title from Acclaim could have been. I will say that. Like, it's the first mini game, and it doesn't. Whereas like Skate or Die that we'll get to, like Skate or Die allows you to choose your mini game. This kind of seemed like it kind of railroaded you into a mini game sequence, which I don't know whether that's good or bad. It's hard to say. I don't know. I didn't play it enough to really decide that. But the first one it put me into was a head-to-head vertical racing game with one other monster truck, and to be totally honest, it was enjoyable. Like it was a little weird in that you're straight top down and there is some like jumping and stuff, so you don't have an ability to gauge your relative to your monster truck, your horizontal vertical whatever movement, so it's just kind of like your sprite gets a little bigger and smaller, which I guess is a good way to portray that on an old NES game. But it was just a little weird that it didn't have some level of angle to it, so you could feel that a little more. But yeah, I mean, you're racing with one, and like there's it's like fucking through this like muddy course that you two are like fucking each other up and stuff. It was actually kind of enjoyable. And then the second one they put me in was a side view race of some kind that I could not even kind of figure out how to get started. It was not just a hold a button thing. I have no fucking idea how it works.
What do you mean? There's 2 buttons on the controller.
Right. I don't know what you have to hit. I don't know. I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't get my truck to go. So clearly a manual perusal is required, and I did not put that level of effort into it. So, maybe if you did that, there's a game here. I don't know. Like I said, the one thing I was able to engage was kind of enjoyable. And I think Matt Gould on the Facebook page was saying that this was a game that he had fond memories of too. So maybe there's something there. I don't know.
Dude, when it comes to the Nintendo or the Super Nintendo, which side note rant, heard someone call a youngin, I will say, call the Super Nintendo a SNES the other day, and I was like, you can write SNES, but you don't call it SNES. Like, what are you talking about? You've committed retro gaming crimes.
I think some people are calling it SNES. So that's a thing some people are calling it. I think you're looking at this may be the first time in the history of this podcast that this is coming from me to you, but I think you're looking at this in a pessimistic manner, Jay. I think you should be embracing the fact that a youngin even knows what the fucking SNES is.
Fair enough. All I know is when I look at games like this, and when it comes to my original point, the Nintendo or the Super Nintendo, if it's not certain games that I know and enjoy, like I'm automatically, in certain genres, I'm automatically dismissing them. And
like racing, yeah.
Anything with a car, that there's a definitive tiering system in my mind below which everything else is like, nope, this is in the sweep it under the rug category.
Yeah, there's a glass ceiling. There's a glass ceiling on Jay's corporate hierarchy of old school racing games.
Meaning, I've been through so many of them. Like, I one of these days I'm gonna sit down and like compare like what haven't I actually ever played, because there's so many of them. I feel like I have very much solid.
That would be. I love checklists and taking the NES. I even tried to do that. There was like some of those early. I think I talked about this maybe. That was a pack watch that insert in.
Oh yeah.
The insert book with the what is it, like pink and black cover in, I think that Super Mario issue, the one that was my first. Like I remember taking that out and, like I said, starring the games. Yeah, it was like I have tried to do that as a child before, but yeah, that would be a fun activity to take the full 700 whatever it is NES licensed games list and go through and kind of figure that out, and actually to know even if only to know that's a fun infographic usage of that overpriced infographic software that I purchased. Like what portion of the library you have played, haven't played, never will play. Like by it, like that would be a fun little fucking data dive.
The ISOH S tier SNES list.
Yeah, like they're doing for Quarter X, right? Yeah. So that hot-ass two-banger for Bonk's Adventure gets us to the NES Pro Views, and the first of those is an unorthodox 3-pager on all Nintendo-related Skate or Die titles, the first 2 on NES and the Game Boy release. And this is Ultra's, or Konami's if you want it that way, first installment, has been out since at least January 89, maybe even late 88, conflicting internetery on that, but I don't recall us talking about it in depth yet. How is that possible? I feel like that game was everywhere. Have we talked about it and I'm just spacing? Or
I don't think we actually talked about it. I mean, I was thinking the same thing when I first saw this. I was like, clearly they're going all in for Skate or Die, but bringing up the old one here.
Right. That's been out.
I don't think we officially talked about it, though.
Yeah, but the idea that 8 months could go by without that happening seems crazy to me.
I mean,
or 8 months eight months of magazines,
It was like they felt like they needed to do a better better game with Skate or
Right.
Die 2.
Oh.
Not necessarily like this was like a great game that there needed to be a sequel.
Well, yeah, no, this is very much probably a function of the new one coming out shortly, and it's like the idea of, oh, remember this one? How about this new one too? That kind of idea. And I can't remember I don't know if I even wrote down what the Game Boy. I don't know when the Game Boy release was, but it's also probably happening around now. So it's probably that's probably the impetus for covering this here. But again, it's more about just that I don't know. I just find it surprising that it hadn't been covered, and we haven't talked about it yet. If that's the case, if I'm not just spacing and we're old and we don't remember, which is possible. Anyhow, this game isn't good in my opinion. I don't think I thought any different of it when I was a kid. It's like. Yeah, I don't know. It never was. I remember even renting it, and and because it was like skateboarding was a vibe at the time. Like skateboarding was a whole fucking thing.
It was a full on culture.
Right, exactly. In 89, 90, and that did not. I never would call myself truly participatory in it, but that doesn't mean I wasn't aware of and not idolize. What's that called? Not idolizing it, but grandized it in my mind and had aspirations to whatever. Like that was a social circle that was interesting to me for sure, So I remember renting it, like wanting to like it, and just like these mini games suck.
Yeah, I put it in the category when I'm thinking about things like in the past of like, or I should put it in that category of like. Was it Paperboy and like some skiing games where like it seems like a good idea and I want to like it, and then when I play it I'm just like it's just not.
Oh man,
I just can't get into it. It's kind of one of those to me where I like it like you said, it's like a genre in and of itself for some reason, but then I play it and it either works or it doesn't, and this one it just doesn't.
I can get into Paperboy being a genre of itself, but I cannot get into the slander for it. That's a good game. Paperboy is a great game.
Yeah, I mean, that's more niche. This is kind of just like, it just doesn't. It's not like the later. I can't remember the game off the top of my head now, but there's like I don't think it's Tony Hawk, but there's definitely like a skateboard game in one of the later generations that I played that was very fun. On like something I wouldn't have expected. Maybe it's like the PS1 or PS2 or something, or GameCube. I don't know what it was. But
Tony Hawk was certainly great.
But yeah, like coming back to these, it's not the same thing. It's not the same.
What is your skateboarding history, Jay?
Dude, I had a yellow slim skateboard growing up. Okay. That's pretty much it. Like I tried it, I tried it. I had it. Definitely was not a skateboarder. Definitely did not like try to do tricks. It was just kind of like, oh, I have this thing. Let me try it out. It's like, nope, I'm not good. Not my jam.
That's kind of similar. Yeah, I don't even remember. Like, it might have just been at the house when we moved into. When I lived with my mom briefly after the divorce, before she died, I remember just having one there. And I remember, I recall putzing back and forth on a flat cement slab in the backyard on it. And I think that's as adventurous as I ever got. Like, I could perceive, even at age 10, I could perceive bopping around on asphalt as a self-detrimental activity that I did not need to be doing. It was like my self-preservation instinct is very strong, and it just seemed like it's like I won't skiing to me is like that's an insane activity. That's rocketing down a fucking snow-covered hill with very little ability to control yourself is idiocy to me.
Like going skating. Like a skating rink is fun to me because you have a smooth surface and a controlled environment. It's a blast.
Right. Yeah, I roller skated my ass off as a kid. Completely different. I can't even believe you're putting those in the same. Those are completely different activities.
I'm saying in a rink, yeah, great. Right. But it's the same thing as a kid when I skated and roller skated on my street in freaking Columbus, Ohio. Definitely uneven pavement. It was a cause for concern. Injuries happening.
Right. I mean, the idea of the down a fucking hill on a skateboard is insane. That is absolutely insane. Yeah. Just absolutely insane behavior. The idea that that's crazy as fuck. Jab's fucking, I think he just recently stopped because his body is at the end of its rope. But yeah, he's been, and I don't even, the weird thing, he wasn't a skateboarder as a kid. That was something he got into after I left for sure. So he had to be at least probably 15 or 16 before he even started doing it. I never once saw him on a skateboard when I still lived in Oberlin. So I don't know when it happened to him, but it had to be pretty later and, relatively later in childhood, early adulthood. So I don't know when it happened, but yeah, he's always talked about it. And, he always talks about it like getting hurt doing it too. And I'm just like, well, why are you doing it, you idiot? It's fucking stupid. Like, why? If you know it's dangerous and you are getting hurt because you're not good enough at it or whatever, like, that's crazy. That's crazy behavior. Just fucking destroy your body for, I don't know. Like, I get, something you enjoy and like it helps you feel fucking alive, whatever. Like you do, not all human beings have the same self-preservation fucking instincts, I suppose, as far as that goes, and they prioritize enjoyment of their world more. But it's just crazy to do. Yeah, it's fucking absolutely nuts to me. Yeah,
that's great.
Not the only thing he and I are diametrically opposed on, I suppose. So I fired it up, and despite knowing it wasn't necessary, or rather, I fired it up despite knowing it wasn't necessary, and I find all 5 of the mini games completely unplayable. Like all 5 of them are just like no fun. I can't even play them. Like, they're not even playable. Like, the joust thing, I have never once hit the opponent on that joust, the pool thing with the joust sticks. I've never once successfully knocked the opponent down. And, I don't know how many times I played it, because like I said, this is not a great game, but there's at least a rental in there. It's the kind of game that you every now and again will be going through your emulation list, like, maybe. Because it is such an interesting world, but no, terrible.
You get in there and you're like, oh, that's why I don't.
Yeah, fucking terrible. It's absolutely fucking terrible. The MSRP is $39.95, and yeah, I'll be patiently waiting for Ski or Die, which is a much, 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 much better mini game collection.
I think that's also the problem too. I in my mind I think of like I said, the Ski or something. Then it's like, okay, there's some that can be really well done.
Yeah, that one it's much better. It's the same exact concept and so similar in mechanics too, but it's just, it looks better, it plays better, it's just better. Which, it's years later, makes sense. The sequel, which Electronic Arts is hanging on to and publishing themselves this time instead of licensing it out, which is what happened with the first one, and that's the first time they're doing any publishing themselves on the NES, is called The Search for Double Trouble. And it's not out till September, so we're still holding off on it. But it's like a side-scrolling deal, and it doesn't look great. And that's actually what the Game Boy version looks like, too, a side-scrolling action platformer. And yes, on a skateboard, and that does not sound like fun. It gives me Adventure Island flashbacks, which is also a terrible game.
And oddly enough, the Game Boy version looks familiar. Like I tried it for some reason, and I was just
really?
Like, yeah, like what? Like it immediately gives me like I had an immediate reaction.
Just see the label,
like oh, I remember this.
Yeah. I don't think I remembered it. Yeah, when I saw that there was a Game Boy version, I was like, I don't think I knew that existed. So I'm pretty sure we didn't get any exposure to that as tots. From there, we get Al Unser Jr.'s Turbo Racing full pager that gets us to ISOH Game App alum Captain Skyhawk's Pro View. And they seem pretty even keel on their take of it. MSRP is $44.95. Not great, but not terrible, which is probably kind of what we said too. And that goofy but intriguing 7-Up branded content strategy game from Arcadia, Spot, is next. And we'll never play it to know, especially the way it's intended as a 4-player NES satellite jam. But I bet this defies all odds and is fun as fuck, dude. Like,
that's what I'm saying. Agreed. I agree.
Yeah. I think if you put 4 fucking kids, or I think you could get into teenagers or adults doing this, because this is like a party game, kind of. This is a Mario Party predecessor in spirit. And you put them all there with 4 controllers in their hand, and they're drinking and fucking around and like hanging out. Like, I think this could be a really fun group activity.
Yep.
But I question whether we'll ever have that happen. Probably not. But I do have an NES satellite. So the MSRP on this is $44.99, and that seems a little pricey for what it is, despite the aforementioned faith in it, but what have you. Codename Viper and shitty NES peripheral omitted ads get us to a one-pager on an Activision title called Thunderbirds. Never heard of it. Drops in September. It is a top-down, vertically scrolling flying shmup. Oh, joy. After that, we have cool ads for shitty games. We have Kemco Seika's Rocket Ranger, Vic Tokai's Mafat Conspiracy, more Vic Tokai action from that Game Boy joint Daedalian Opus that includes a pretty amazing tournament contest where they're staging like a play tournament thing that had trips to Disneyland and all sorts of free shit, including NES action sets, and that is a cool prize, of course. We also get that creepy-ass Lightboy ad from Vic after the last NES Pro View for JVC's Boulder Dash, and the MSRP on that is a very fair and amicable $34.95. That is the Populous, maybe the main gameplay theme, I'm not entirely sure, for the Genesis. And we fittingly kick off our Genesis Pro Views with a two-banger on EA's Budokan. And I love the opening paragraph of this article. And it reads as such: "You beat bad dudes, wasted Double Dragon 1 and 2, and out-ninja'd Shinobi and Revenge of Shinobi. Maybe you've even wiped up the streets with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So what do you know about martial arts? Nothing. As Tobiko Sensei would say, you fight like a headless chicken." And yeah, I just love them rattling off those ninja options, then saying they're nothing by comparison. That's hot copywriting.
It's definitely a challenge.
Yeah, very strong. Very strong. And this isn't coming out for a while, some indeterminate time in 91, but in poking around for that, I saw a real bummer because, like I said, I was the copy had me a little jazzed here, and I was completely unfamiliar with it. But the December 91 issue of GamePro cited this game as one of the worst games of the entire year of 1991. The editors criticized the game for its bland gameplay and unrealistic simulation of the bow. Fucking sad emoji on that. I was definitely looking at this going, I bet this has dope ass simulation of the bow. That's what endeared me to the article here and potentially the game.
I mean, the fact that I've never heard of this game.
Yeah, like I said, this is 91. Like that's about when the Genesis was happening for me. So and like EA was a thing to me. Like there was something about me that really liked those EA, the way the boxes were different, the way the game cards were different. Like EA games were for Genesis was very much a thing to me because of how different they were. And yeah, the fact I didn't even know about this is kind of crazy to me. But yeah, that take is funny to me because most of the words in this feature are praising the attention to detail and realism in the portrayal of martial arts in the game. So the fact that the criticism after release is exactly the opposite of that, Yeah. Proof they're just making shit up to fill a magazine with, probably. We take it as gospel, and it's like, nah. After that is a fun Game Boy Batman ad and that Quickshot Python full pager that get us to a couple of pages that round out their 2-issue coverage of Moonwalker. And they trying to read the text against this background felt like trying to do a magic eye to me. Like, this is horrible. Horrible layout design. It was so fucking
get real close.
Yeah, like one eye, like sit back a little bit. I do not think of myself as having vision issues or color contrast issues. Like, color blindness, not a thing. But looking at this, I was like, what the fuck does that say?
I mean, it looks nice, very colorful. They went
it is. It is attention garnering for sure. It may be even fitting for the game, but really hard to read. They let the cat out of the bag about the end of the game mode switch up, and I fucking hate that they did that here. Yeah. They do point out that Mike oversaw all aspects of the game, and it reflects that in its uniqueness and originality. So I like that analysis, but yeah, I really fucking hated that they put that there. Yeah. So there's part of me though that wants to blame Sega for that too, not them.
But do you think it was their choice or Sega's choice here?
Well, it's their choice, but I think it's Sega's job to provide a press kit, a media kit,
shit down.
right? That keeps it in line with what the manual did, not mentioning it. You know what I mean? When we did cover the game, I think we both talked about that. How I think that was deliberate in not putting that there, and it's their job to convey that. I think in dealing with the press. So, not unlike the fact that they have no MSRP for any fucking Genesis game. Sega's fucking press department probably not great. Probably one part-time intern doing all their fucking U.S. marketing relations.
And he's out there like, yo, can I get $8 an hour? Like,
right? Yeah. The reason I'm late is because I have to take the bus. How about a little more money? Next is an NCS corporation, which is a great video game developer company name. And right there, I fucked it up. It's not even that was not deliberate. That just happened because dumbass name. Anyways, it's developed by them and DreamWorks published. And this game is Target Earth. DreamWorks is the outfit that brought us that gangbusters release, Shove It, the warehouse game. This has no release date to be found beyond 1990, but it hit in Japan in March, so safe to assume it's outish here in August. And I didn't remember it, but we have seen it before. I thought I was doing a new game here, and I fired it up.
It looks different. Like the background, like the art kind of throws you off because I thought the same thing. I was like, have we heard of this before?
Yeah. But now, it is that marginally intriguing side-scrolling action platformer in a mech suit deal with kind of like some goofy copy stuff going on that made it, kind of interesting, but when you fire it up, it's kind of like, maybe...
I don't want to really keep playing this.
Yeah, right. Maybe 30 years ago, you'd have had me, but 2022, no. After that, we have Oh, God damn it. Fucking out of podcast sorts. Not in the groove.
Got to get back in shape.
Yeah, I got to
work it up. No!
Got to get back in podcast shape. Pat Riley Basketball is the last Genesis Pro View, but as we touched on in Mailbag, it's not out till Christmas. And it's the only Genesis game in here with an MSRP, $49.95, so they were able to convey that one. So start saving, kids. You got 4 months. The major Genesis spread of the month comes next, this time featuring Moonwalker with the teaser page, A Very Lean Genesis Does, which leads to, logically, what Nintendo don't. And I love their closing boast copy at the end of the blurb. And from the moment you hit the start button, you know one thing for sure. You can't do this on Nintendo.
I love the direct attack ads.
Yeah.
Because you didn't often see that. It was more like...
Yep.
At the time, it seemed like everything was much more like, this is our brand. This is what the other guys do. Like, blank brand.
That's such a good way to put it. That's, like McDonald's. Yeah, dude, I remember... It's funny you say that, because, I do have this very specific memory of those Pepsi ads that started attacking Coke, and that was it was I think they started doing it on a Super Bowl, one of the Bill Super Bowls actually, like that. Yeah, and it was I remember thinking wow, that's wild that they're just saying they suck.
Right? That's not the legitimately way this has been done before.
Right? Yeah.
You have broken the couth rule.
It did very much stood out to even my idiot child mind. Whoa. So this is actually a 4-banger this time, too. Previously, they've been 3-pagers, and they added a page titled Genesis Does It All that showcases what is probably a sizable percentage of the game catalog at the time. It's got 25 titles here. And a lot... Titles. What's that?
Said lots of titles.
Yes, for sure. And a lot of it is old guard, but they have some shit here that we could still kick around for a game map. Truxton, Rambo 3, Ghostbusters 2 is here. And then there is one completely new one that dropped in June. Cyberball. This is from Atari, under the Tengen banner, and it's a robot American football game that began as an arcade cabinet. Okay.
I didn't even see that one. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, it's tucked down in there, and we have not seen this anywhere else. So, I was doing my due diligence, and I was like, that's, okay, what is that? And I didn't have the ROM, which made me rejoice inside, because that means I didn't play it, and it sucked, and I forgot about it. So, got the ROM, fired it up. The title screen reads Cyberball, Football in the 21st Century, before cutting to an informational screen that seems really important. And this screen reads, Beware of ball status. That's the headline. And then below that, critical ball will explode. It then shows a 4-stage flowchart of the status progression, cool, warm, hot, critical. And then it says, to defuse, cross the 50-yard line or the goal line. And I was already in love. Okay, so you go from that, and you're presented with a menu first. Its options are league, password, versus, and an options menu that allows you to change the difficulty level, and has a sound test feature that allows me to highlight what is an awesome soundtrack. And my fave from that is the standings theme, which plays while you review the standings in league mode. A lot of dope ones in here, though, and some great voice samples on game events. Tutties, safety, conversions, they have voice samples for all that shit. Really, really good. So going back to the menu, we have league mode, and that is hot. In 1990, just getting some half-cooked playoff mode is much more likely than a full season. That's why Tecmo Super Bowl coming out next year was such a big deal, because you have a full season mode, you know. So we're getting into it a little early here, and I don't think even Joe Montana, I'm pretty sure, did not have a season mode. I believe it just had some kind of playoff deal. So this might be the first game with a season mode on home consoles as far as American football goes, and that's pretty wild. But it's worth mentioning too. Yes, children, there's a time when our football video games did not have a never-ending franchise mode. Like being able to play like a real football simulation of any kind was not always present in home console gaming. But they have that, and then they have a versus mode, and I smell a parsec opportunity there, Jay. So a lot of promise in the setup. Is the gameplay good? And it's very basic on the surface. It's 7-on-7, not 11-on-11, which had me a little worried at first when I first got into the game. And the play calling is fairly dumbed down. You have 12 plays on offense or defense, but they do at least, you get actual defensive concepts. It's not like Tecmo where you try to guess the offense's play. You actually have defensive plays. That's also a rather new thing. NES Play Action Football has that, but that's not out yet either. That comes out around Christmas, I think we decided, or maybe even early next year. But so this might be the first time you get defensive plays in a home console football game too. So a lot of fucking shit happening here. That's first for American football. But dude, this game is fun as fuck, I think. So there's time constraints everywhere. Like there's no, like the problem with some of these old football console games is they're kind of like, they're too plotting and they worry too much about, I don't know, shit that's not important. It's why Tecmo's so much fun. Tecmo has this like, we're not there yet. We can't give you a real simulation, so stop trying. You know what I mean? Even though I respect NES Play Action's ability to be simulation-esque, and it is a little plotting, and that's why some people didn't like it as much, I think. But like this leans into the arcade aspect of like, keep it going, keep it fun, and like there's enough football shit there that it still looks and feels like it, but you're not slowed down and bored by the dumb periphery shit that's not important, you know? So there's all these fucking time constraints. Like you feel like you have a timer on your play pick stuff that it's so fast, dude, that you feel pressure. Like I felt pressure picking a play. And I'm sure you played enough and you get a little more fast, but I mean, it's so fast that I think even after you played a lot, you're still always going to like, cuz you have, football is situational. You need to make situational decisions. It's not just, you can't just pick shit, especially with the other time constraint of the ball exploding. Like you have to get to the 50. So like, how many yards do I need? I need 30 yards. I got to pick a play that's going to give me 30 yards. You know what I mean? And like that time constraint, I think will always be there with the play picking. So that's cool. And then it took me to realize it, like even like, that 50, like I read that informational screen and got into the gameplay and started playing and still expected to see downs. And like, I'm playing, I'm going. And then I realize as I'm playing that there are no downs. 10 yards means nothing. Like you need to get to the 50 in 4 downs, or not 4 downs, but before it doesn't even use downs. It doesn't even have downs. So it's the ball progressively gets hotter, and I'm not sure if maybe there is a semi-dependable like number of plays or something or time or something that like you I didn't know what it was. I wasn't able to ascertain what it was, but you got to get to the 50 and like you see the ball status going and like, again, you feel it like, fuck, I got to get to the 50. Or then once you pass the 50, you got to score a touchdown. And like, that is just so fucking fun. And if you take too long to do either, the fucking ball explodes and you lose possession. Like people die, players die, and you lose possession. And it's just like so great. So great. And like the CPU's first possession, so I'm playing on defense for the first time, and I got them to critical status on the ball getting to the 50. And when they converted and got across the 50, like, I felt genuinely disgruntled. So, like, it gives you that, like, again, that just like emotional response that you want out of any sort of media, you know. So it does a good job of getting that, you know, which is really great. And they even rub it in. They have instant replay. So like when he crossed the 50-yard line and converted, they showed you an instant replay of it, you know, to even rub it in, which is great. Yeah, dude, it's fucking amazing. I think it's an incredibly fun game. Like, I was blown away by how much fun I was having immediately. And there's some lightweight, like with the season mode, there's some lightweight robot upgrade aspects before the game starts. Kind of reminded me a little bit of Base Wars on NES, if you ever played that, which is a pretty fun baseball game. Which is kind of like, it's not like a really intense development tree or anything. There's just kind of some light stuff you can buy to improve certain parts of your team. So, you know, there's an in-game economy where you earn money as you play. So there's an in-game economy to making your team better, and then in turn having some, you know, development to your season. So that's pretty fucking cool, man. And absolutely something to talk about here as far as sports games go. So you did not play it?
I didn't even see it, right? I didn't even see it. Yeah.
Oh, dude. Yeah, it's absolutely, you got to take a look at it. Like, you know, whether it rings is true for
No, it looks
you.
interesting. It looks like it's like a kind of gives me like super early before the times NFL Blitz type of vibes. So
very much so. Like, I mean, it may be a more time relevant comparison, Mutant League Football, which is a Genesis game that I will fucking be screaming from the rooftops about when we get there. Really, really good game where, yeah, it's essentially Madden, but with a bunch of cool ass arcade functions to it. Really good. So yeah, I was impressed as hell, and so glad that I didn't just gloss over that list of 24 other games that we've seen a million times.
That we've already seen.
Yeah,
over and over.
So should get a podcaster due diligence award for clocking that. So we'll probably never see it again.
Right? The fact that they just buried it there, I'm like, means that they didn't believe a whole lot, but they had an imbalanced number of squares there. Like,
that one, I guess. Fuck it. Yeah. Yep. We get our token SMS Pro View next, and it's on Aerial Assault. Came out at some miscellaneous time in 1990, so we'll call it fair game as far as game app status goes. And it's a very straightforward side-scrolling flying shmup in a modern fighter jet. And it's good, Jay. Have you played it?
I think we're done here.
I thought it controlled well. It looked solid by SMS standards, and it was probably a welcome addition to any kid stuck with an SMS stills library. I mean, I don't know, like,
maybe if you have nostalgia feelings for it, but as a grown man playing an SMS port right now, there are many other
flying... Well, that's not how we look at this. We're not doing it from a modern perspective. You have to put it in the context of the SMS. I mean, I thought, you know, the first level looked a little basic. You're flying over a lot of water, heading towards the battleship mission objective laid out for you. You know, like, you have the static cockpit screenshot before the level starts, and then whatever. But the screenshots in the mag show a pretty diverse and interesting array of level types in the game. You know, so you're changing areas and stuff. I mean, again, like, dude, flying shmup. Like, I'm not here on some fucking, like, crusade. I'm not on some fucking flying shmup crusade or anything here. You should know that out of me. I look at these with a pretty grating, from a pretty grating perspective. But I thought for the system and the genre, if you're into them,
know. I think part of my problem is the genre. Like, I like obviously flying shooters, but this is more of just like I don't know. It's not fantasy enough to be like cool flying, and not like real enough to be like war. It's kind of like real but not fun. I don't know how to describe it. You know, like, there's nothing exciting about the flying experience.
Sure, no, and I said that it looks a little basic. But that's mess. You know. Like,
yeah, I mean, if I had an SMS. And you gave me this game and this is all I had, like, sure, I'd probably be fine just doing that, you know, but it's given the specter of flying shooters out there, I'm like, they didn't really, they just kind of went
this late
there.
Yeah, this late in the timeline for sure. This, you know, if this drops early SMS or earlier SMS, clearly at least before the Genesis comes out, then maybe, but We get into TurboGrafx joints from there, Devil's Crush and Splatterhouse. And Devil's Crush is a sweet-ass pinball game that we saw a long time ago, and I was able to try before my TurboGrafx simulation situation went awry on my laptop. I actually was able to. I mentioned fucking with I played it a little bit on the plane ride too, on that handheld, because I had all the ROMs that I downloaded. I dropped on there before I left, so I was able to fuck with it a little bit, and it is still fun and cool. And then the other one here is Splatterhouse, and this is a franchise that will eventually make its way to Genesis. Jab had the third installment, but I've never fucked with this first game, and that's probably a sadly thing. I need to change that now that I think about it, and I have that emulation thing. When I wrote these notes, I did not have that new emulator yet, so I will actually have to make a note to download this and play it on there, because I bet it's good. It's a side-scrolling beat 'em up. At least the third and second ones were on Genesis. I'm assuming this first one is too, based on the stuff here. It's a side-scrolling beat 'em up where you can control a Jason Voorhees ripoff in a horror-themed environment. So it's very gruesome and bloody, and the graphics on the third one on Genesis look great. Some of this game doesn't get, I don't know. It's expensive, so I think it's a little rare. Like, I've looked at trying to cop the third cartridge on as a childhood reclamation thing, and it's pretty pricey, so I haven't done it yet. And I feel like it gets a little bit of shit, like they're not that great at games, but I don't see how that's possible. Like, my memory of it and even the emulation I've done of it, like, it's, again, for that genre, it's great. It's really good.
But it's also $62. $62 for a rip-off character. Like, I'm almost highbrow, nose up offended as a
all that shit, all that NSC.
I'm just kind of like, this is bullshit. What is this game?
That is
this game you have bought and put.
That is a very high MSRP. I will agree, but that's all that NSC. That's how we said. The NSC. That was the problem. That was one of the major problems. The NEC. The TurboGrafx was not a poor kid's console. You had to be a rich kid, or it wasn't even going to be possible for you, because you're just not. All that stuff was too expensive. But doesn't mean the game's not good. We have 2 full-page ads accompanying those, Boulder Dashes from JVC and a new one from Taxan, and the main event here is Low G-Man for the NES, and I'm not at all hip to this game, actually. It doesn't drop till next month, but the key art is very well done. It looks like a movie poster, It's like kind of aloof and vague. It's an all-yellow background, just a name and some cool font, center mass, and a pair of legs with jet boots firing upward. So you've piqued my interest. I'm listening. And judging by the copy here, that's the game's gimmick. It's low gravity and high jumping on a side-scrolling action game. So that's what that game's going to be about. So we will see what happens with that. Taxan is not exactly a developer that has me all too confident it's going to go. They also have a small shot of a bunch of other titles, real small in the corner down below, and some of it we've seen, and they all suck. Mappyland, 8 Eyes, Barai Fighter, like I said, Taxan, not good. But there's 2 that we haven't. One is Putt Master, which will be canceled and never released, which is a bummer, because it sounds like putt-putt. And and then we have G.I. Joe, which won't be released until January 91, and under the surname A Real American Hero. There's a few good Joe games on the NES, and they're all thought of as good, so I look forward to getting to those. I'll sell you the whole seat, but you're only going to need the edge, because we're at Jay's Atari Corner. Motorcycle from Atari appears to be a forced perspective moto racer. Don't keep us in suspense, Jay.
This is definitely a title you can miss 100%. 100%. When it comes to racing on the good old Atari, like, it's pole position, pole position 2. That's kind of like the racing game. This game is just, it doesn't work. I mean, it's later in the generation, but that doesn't really help. Like, I want to like it, but it suffers from everything else that you get for Atari. Like, it's just kind of a choppier experience, because you can't really have that, like, full speed, like, whoa, I'm actually racing. And just, I don't know. I mean, the jumping, they kind of throw that in there, something different, because you're not just driving a car. But if you're stuck with this game, if you were stuck with this game as a kid, I'm sorry. Like, I feel you. It is what it is. Hopefully you got a new game soon.
Well, the MSRP is only $24.99, so if it's some level of, like, economy that your parents have you in, that's relative to the global video game buying landscape. $24.99 is a pretty small notch, and you should be coming up on a new game pretty soon.
That was the problem, though. It was like you would have these games so cheap, and the parents' situation would be like, "Hey, look at this! It's so much cheaper." You're like, "But mom, but mom, I mean, but mom, you don't understand. There's a reason."
Yeah, right, yeah.
Dad.
Yeah, it looks to me like a very stripped down Road Rash, and I don't even see any opposing racers in the screenshots, and that is tough. It's driving alone. Like, there better be some really cool environmental shit
with
going
a random
on.
obstacle here and there. I mean, the environment changes colors. You're in the sand,
or
you're in the grass, or you're in the desert.
What are you gonna do? A couple Game Boy Pro views finish us up on that front. We get Heavyweight Championship Boxing and Gargoyle's Quest, along with full pagers from Sunsoft and Koei. Sunsoft is for Journey to Silius. That's their new NES joint dropping in September. And Sunsoft is good. Kind of excited about that. Koei is for the Nobunga and Company strategy games that they do. After these messages,
we'll be right back.
So, you want to know the story of Splatterhouse, the new horror video game for TurboGrafx 16? They say he stalks the old haunted mansion. They say he's looking for his girlfriend. They say his only weapon against the maggot-eaten ghouls who took her is a 2x4. And you say you want to play this game? Splatterhouse. Only for the TurboGrafx 16 system from NEC.
That is a U.S. market commercial for Splatterhouse and the TurboGrafx. And not sure I'd ever seen a TurboGrafx commercial before, and I think it looked really polished. Definitely better than the Sega commercials we're seeing at this time, in my opinion.
I'm telling you. Commercials, system, graphics, it looked like Solid Adventure back in the day.
Yeah.
I just didn't get to take that.
Yeah, it makes me wonder whether these just didn't play in Ohio, or did they play there but flew right by me because, what the fuck is a TurboGrafx 16?
Yeah.
So SWAT hot tips, 5 pages worth, are next, and there's more to talk about here than I usually am inclined to for this section. First off, the Wizards and Warriors sequel, Iron Sword, is here, and I'm pretty sure we talked about this a while back off some Nintendo Power Shine, but we haven't seen it in a while. And the first game ep ever was Ghosts and Goblins, and we just revisited the franchise with the Ghouls and Ghosts game ep. The second game ep we ever did after this podcast was Wizards and Warriors. Speaking of Ghouls and Ghosts, that makes an appearance here. It's a tip for the final boss battle against Loki, and it says you can stand on his feet and legs, safely of course, and just hammer his ass from there and take him out almost instantly, is how they worded. And I never would have guessed that you could touch any part of him safely. That's cool,
Yeah.
I did not try that.
I definitely did. I definitely was on his feet, but I didn't stay there.
Well, you can jump up. That's the thing. You can jump up on his knees, I think. Is what it's saying.
I mean, but I also was like on the feet.
Right.
But and I was able to hack him down pretty well there, but I also didn't stay because I was like, it's just going to get me. So I jumped away eventually.
I didn't try
Maybe
that
I could have
either.
stayed. Yeah.
I didn't try that either. Or I wouldn't have tried that either, rather. I didn't try anything. And the Adventures of Link tip here is pretty fucking hot. It's from Dan Johnson of Gloucester, Maine. And he's coming in here with an algorithm straight out of the fucking lab, dude. Did you see this one? This is so high octane to me for a kid. He's cooked up a leveling up cheese. Or I guess does it say he's a kid? Maybe he's not a kid. Either way, even adult, this is high octane. And he's cooked up a leveling up cheese where you clear out all the Octrox in one of the random encounter swamps, and then you position yourself in a particular place in a way that holding attack on turbo will kill the constantly spawning flying enemy, orange birds called Mobies, right? So he goes on to propose, so you can do this and basically not even pay attention is essentially what he's saying. You can go there, you can do this and just hold the attack button, and it'll just constantly kill a respawning thing. So you can level up without having to think, basically, right? It's
he said, go buy a clamp.
Yeah, he says to go purchase a small C-clamp to keep the button depressed unattended and just walk away from the system, which is hilarious and brilliant. And I guess he didn't have one of my automatic potion buying machines, which, bummer for him, but you can get a C-clamp too, I guess. And this beautiful little psychopath even provides the mathematics of his system, saying it generates roughly 58 XP per minute. And there is absolutely no fucking way Dan isn't a millionaire today. I'd be willing to wager. Because,
or in jail.
Yeah. Well, maybe both. Very possibly both. They're definitely, there's some Venn diagram overlap to those two things, no question. That's great. And then there's a code to go straight to the last level on a new Genesis joint in here too, Herzog's Way. And I haven't seen this before. I don't know if you ever noticed it. I had not. But it is developed by Technosoft. It's published by Sega. Dropped in April 1990, so fair game. And I fired it up. Did you notice and try it?
Absolutely not. No. It's like a name I recognize. Like I've seen it somewhere, but in one of those, like I don't even know what this is.
I've definitely never seen that. I feel like I've never seen those words.
So you just picked it up and played it.
Yeah. So I fired it up, which is, again, it's due diligence, trying to cover all the bases, especially Genesis too, because like Genesis is this early Genesis stuff where again I wasn't there yet, I wasn't present for it, so like I'm interested in the games I missed, so that's I'm a little more inclined in that regard. And yeah, I jumped in and tried it, and I don't know if I've ever been more lost playing a video game. It rivaled, I would say, turning on Raiders of the Lost Ark on the Atari 2600, which, if you're not in the know, you need to play with the second controller. And basically no other Atari games have that going on. So if you didn't read or have, in my case as a child, the manual, you were just fucked. There's just no way you're going to figure out how to play that game. And funny enough, I bought that manual as one of the manuals. I went to a retro shop a couple weeks ago and was rifling through and found an Atari 2600 manual cache there and ended up buying like fucking 30 manuals. And one of them was the Raiders of the Lost Ark because I was like, I don't even have the game. I don't even have the cartridge yet. I will get it though. And because, yeah, as a kid, I just had no idea how to play this game as a kid. When I saw that, I was immediately like, ooh, I need this information. Even though I'm sure I can find it on the internet now, but it's just having it. Yeah. I needed to buy it because I saw it because of that, like, damaging experience, emotionally damaging experience as a child. So yeah, I can finally play that. But anyways, on the surface of this game, Herzog, there's some action stuff going on that lets you switch freely between shooting shit as a warplane and shooting shit as a foot soldier. Like it's like a top-down tactical map, right? And you can switch between these two different game modes of sorts. And there's like a little bit of a futuristic vibe to the art and sprites. Like it's Earth-based, but like a little futuristic in the technology, the war technology you have. But like there's just clearly some high-level strategy stuff going on. You can bring up a screen with a map that has flashing targets all over it, and it shows opposing enemies, and there's a bunch of meters along the top of the screen that indicates fuck knows what, So I was clueless as to what my objective was, but I was so intrigued that I did the unthinkable and hunted the manual down. And even the manual, which is easily the Genesis record to date, 32 pages, is kind of confusing. I somewhat started to get a handle on the objective between looking at the manual and playing the game. And it's a real-time acquisition and occupation strategy game of both the neutral and enemy POIs. Like there's POIs all over the map. Some are enemy controlled, some are neutral, and you need to try to acquire control of both. And it's real-time though. And usually real-time strategy on a console, the controls are gonna be all too fucked up to really control that, but it works, dude. It works. Like you're not dragging and dropping things or whatever. You're like controlling something that you have first person. You're controlling the soldier basically. And I think this game might be bananas fun, dude. Like.
You just said a whole lot of words, and I don't believe any of them.
Dude, I'm telling you, it was weird because it's like, so you gotta you have to you
can't even explain it to me. That
this is definitely the first of a game like it. And that's I guess maybe its own intriguing part of this. But you control the foot soldier and can shoot shit with him, and the flying part of it is more of like a supply drop, support activity that you need to take different. You need to figure out what you need in a certain part of the map for whatever military agenda you might be trying to initiate there, and then support those troops with the flying thing dropping off certain other different types of attacking vehicles and shit. I think it might be really fucking good, dude. Especially, again, as a head-to-head thing, I think the real-time head-to-head of this would be a really fun, like Command and Conquer type thing, which I never really got into, but a lot of people did. And maybe a more applicable thing for me would be Warcraft. It like had Warcraft vibes to it, and I certainly much prefer the fantasy world of Warcraft over this. But the actual gameplay of it, I think, seemed pretty damn good and felt pretty good. And once I was able to acquire some vague understanding of what I was trying to do and how to do it, I was having fun immediately, dude.
Look at you finding purported gems out of this episode of nothingness. Like, I don't even know what to say to that.
You're trying this. You can't argue with me if you don't even try it, Jay. That's maybe the worst part about not trying these things is you don't have a basis by which to argue against.
No, because I don't think of playing real-time strategy games on my Nintendo or my Genesis or anything console.
I don't either.
It's immediately like an absolute not. Like
I don't either, but I'm telling you, this
10-year-old Jerry would have looked at this and been like, bleh.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't think, like I said, even reading the manual, I had a hard time keeping up. Mentally.
Well, why did you persist? You keep persisting through the BS and giving these people a chance, Josh. Surface level reviews.
Too stubborn for that, Jay. Too stubborn for that. Too respectful of the artistic process, and too stubborn. I think
the first article I pulled up says Herzog's Way is the best real-time strategy.
I told you, motherfucker.
Bullshit, mate. Bullshit.
I told you. Like, I could immediately tell it was well done. You know, the only impediment was understanding objectives and how to accomplish them, like mechanically. Like the feel of it was immediately like, even when I didn't know what I was doing, it felt good. Nothing was beneficial was happening for my actions. You know, like once I knew how to do what I needed to do, it was absolutely fun, and like I was accomplishing shit. And like I said, the head-to-head thing of it has got to be just a absolute blast because, you know, AI, computer, whatever. But like two people in a room together playing this, and the way it does it, I think it's a split-screen deal. Like it's probably a really fucking fun, shit-talky, inspiring thing, you know. Anyhow, before we get out of here, we have a new full pager from Hot B for a game called Shingen the Ruler for the NES. And I'd never heard of it. Dropped in June, fired it up, and it is astoundingly similar to Nabunga's Ambition, like a turn-based strategy. Graphics are way better than I would say than Nabunga's Ambition. But there is, this is a mouse-based real strategy game that's not real-time, it's turn-based. And yeah, it's just, I mean, you need in-depth manual perusal, and it's just not a format that works on console, I don't think. Certainly not from a modern perspective. A bunch of bullshit sits between SWAT and Ask the Pros coming next, and ATP is a page and a half of all Shadowgate all the time. We have been overwhelmed with questions about the NES Kemco Seika Kart Shadowgate, so this month's Ask the Pros column will try to cover most FAQs regarding this challenging game. And overwhelmed is a really strong wording choice to say that they are just getting inundated by kids like, what in the fuck do I do in this game? You know, it's kind of fun.
I have this damn game. This is the game that I have to play.
Yeah, please help me. Yeah. The kids all sound so exasperated. Please help me. I've tried everything, so on and so forth. You know, so the last one is asking the last of the write-ins is asking what in the fuck the copy in the in-game sequence is talking about when it mentions this being the first story's end. And this is something, even having kind of semi-recently beaten this myself, I didn't clock and really devote any thinking about, but. I got to dap up the GamePros here as they reached out to Kemco Seika and said, yeah, like, what the fuck is up with that? I mean, what's the sequel? What is the sequel? When's it coming? Yada, yada, yada. And Kemco Seika offered pretty much no answer whatsoever. They just told them that a different game, Deja Vu, which is another one of these Mac Venture kind of same UI type deal, but a detective noir thing, is coming out around Christmas. So bummer on that, but commendable to GamePros for trying to get a real answer from the developer.
We got nothing.
Yeah.
Find out.
Short pro shots now, and this is a pretty brief installment of this compared to what's been in some issues of the mag. Plenty to talk about, though. First up is Bandai's Dick Tracy in the NES, and we've seen a ton of this already because of Disney, but August is the drop date, so it is actually out now, and this is the first we're seeing it where that's the case. So it is Game Ep eligible now.
You said that as if it matters at all, as if that changes anything in life.
Just making a declaration. That's all. This game is actually. I think I told you this. The side-scrolling action parts, not good, but there is a lot of interesting shit in this game. No. You're the acquiring of clues and stuff, and like it's the overhead driving stuff. It's
yeah. His coat is yellow. I get it. It's bright. No.
Not saying I'm hardcore advocating for it or anything, but it's not just a straightforward shitty action side scroller like you could have gotten for a movie licensed game of the time.
Yeah, it's a shitty licensed side scroller of a shitty game. Yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
I'm leaving it alone. I'm gonna leave it alone, Dick Tracy.
Tengen's Clax is also new for us. This hit in June. And this is a game I've been buzzing around the periphery of in my gaming universe forever. Or that's been buzzing around in the periphery of my gaming universe forever. And I'm sad I've never tried it till now. It is an awesome award-winning puzzler. Fun neon shit 90s extreme vibes to it. And did you play it?
Yeah, it's a fun game. It's a game that also, like, growing up I heard about, but just never had it.
Yep.
But you would see it like they were clearly trying to promote it. You know?
Yep. And I see why. Yeah, you turn it on. There's white text on a black card that reads, "It's the 90s and there's time for ... before," and then it cuts to the title screen. Clacks, and it's just there's a lot of that kind of like by the standards of NES games in 1990, edgy aspects to it. It's got a really weird little Pong-ish mini game called Blob Ball in the options menu. Did you clock this?
I did not. No, I did not play it.
So if you go to the options menu and there's a thing there there's an option called Blob Ball, or sorry, it's labeled Stuff on the title screen. Is what the options menu is called, and then you go there and there's an option in there called Blob Ball, and it's Pong basically, but with like some weird shit going on to it. So it's just like some added content that is cool if they add. Most games don't have that kind of thing going on in it, or most NES games of the time. No NES games at the time. I shouldn't say most. I can't think of any other instance of that kind of thing. So it's like hidden, not even hidden, but just like, again, added bonus content. And yeah, the game itself, the actual core game itself, it's just fun. Like I'd add it to the shit worth playing list if I could even open, let alone edit the doc on your Google Drive.
What?
I told you I can't edit it. It's like it asked me to do some additional shit that I can't do, sign in shit or something that I cannot do. I'm signed into my Google Drive, and I don't know. I use other people's Google Drives all the time. I don't understand what's happening there, but I cannot edit that. I cannot edit that document.
Take a look at that.
Yeah. So it's coming on Genesis 2, which almost certainly will be even doper graphics-wise. So I'm looking forward to checking that out and seeing the disparity between the two. But yeah, the game's really fun and absolutely worth trying. There's no SMS in here in the forward-looking section, and maybe that means it's finally reached the end of the line. But there are 3 Genesis jams. One is Cyberball. We covered that already, I believe. Another is Populous from EA, a very highly regarded strategy game in the PC realm that got ported where you essentially are kind of a god looking down on the world below and like changing the landscape and stuff and trying to attract followers, I think. I remember trying it back in the day and not being able to get into it. And I think that's kind of interesting because there is an EA strategy title that's very similar called Powermonger that I owned. It's more military minded than Populous. Populous is just kind of a building thing, I think. But even Powermonger is really hard for me to play nowadays from that same, modern UI problem perspective we just talked about. But very well regarded game coming up. And then we have Zany Golf, and this is a putt-putt game from EA I'd never seen or played. And it's putt-putt. I like that shit. I know you like that shit too. Did you try this one?
This one I did not try.
No. Oh, man. It's not terrible for the time, it was probably fun. You can and this is actually a really interesting thing too that you don't get for the Genesis. It's up to 4 players on a controller pass system for the Genesis. So again, kind of a good party game, I think.
Nice.
And the courses are indeed zany, as the title would suggest. But the UI and physics they're not really great, I would say. The hitting mechanic is dragging a crosshair the opposite direction you want to hit. So kind of like a rubber band effect. So like the way you want to hit, you pull the exact opposite of it. And it's just tough to get. You probably could get the hang of it, I'm sure, and be able to do it reliably. But it was so different that the learning curve was a little steep on that, I think, and I don't know if that was the best way to do it, but I mean, I think like the best thing like this, like Lunar Pool, is a better, like I liked how that, I think that could have worked very similarly for this, the same kind of interface. But
see, video game golf has ruined my real life golf, my putt-putt game. Like we had from playing, walkabout golf and such, and even like golf with friends, like. So we had an event. We went to this, basically a putt-putt course nearby. I didn't know it existed. It's not putt-putt, It's next to a real-life golf course. And so, like, they had their own miniature golf next to it. Awesome. But, like, the first couple holes, I'm realizing I'm expecting the ball physics to be like they are in walkabout. And I'm like, that is not right. I was like, this is real-life golf.
I routinely praise it for being so physics accurate.
Yes, it's good, but at the same time, there's things I know where I just know if I hit it a certain way, like, it'll go that way. And that does not mean real life is going to go like that. And I just realized, I caught myself doing it, and I was like, too much VR golf.
That's funny. I don't know if I have played real life putt-putt since I started playing walkabout. That's a funny.
I guarantee you might have to make a quick adjustment, just like mentally for a second. Like without thinking about it.
I almost went in Florida. I was in Florida, and what was I doing? I think I was just off fucking around. What the hell was I doing? Why was I up there? I was up in maybe it was coming back or going to my grandma's or something. But I stopped and ate lunch. I think it what it was, and it was in a beach community like Clearwater, and there were a couple putt-putt courses. Like I clocked the one, and there was another one that was closer to where I ate. So I was sitting there eating. And I looked up. I was like, I'm just gonna go play like by myself, And it was one of those funny. I don't know. I do not have like I can. I am so weird in my social. It's not anxiety. Like I can do anything, go anywhere, talk to anyone. Like it doesn't matter to me. But if I'm like, I will not do things for such weird reasons. But like, so I go back. So like, I drive to this place. It's only, it was like a mile from where I ate. So I drive to this place and I pull up to it and I park in the street next to it and I look at it and I see a family with 2 kids and like pretty empty otherwise there. And it occurred to me like how weird it might be for a guy to be alone, a 40-year-old guy alone on a putt-putt course with a bunch of kids running around. And it just like, it occurred to me as weird. And I was like, I'm not going to do that. And just turned around and drove away.
I guarantee that family is not thinking about you.
No, for sure. No, they by the time I got up there, paid and got in, that family wouldn't even have been there. But the possibility that I would have that interaction with other families or whatever was too much and I just turned around.
I don't think that's a thing, Josh.
I didn't say it was a thing. I said it was a thing for me. I didn't say it was healthy. I just said it's something that I did and that came into my mind. True. Anyhow, a couple Turbo 16 titles and a TurboGrafx 16 titles and a Game Boy joint close out Pro Shots, and we get a handful of ads before getting to Pro News. And there is an ad in here from Toho for a full pager that has Godzilla, which we've talked about, but they introduce a new one called Circus Caper. And I'd never heard of this, so I fired it up. Did you play it?
Circus Caper? No.
Yeah, you might not even. It's tough to even if you're not really easy to gloss over this for sure.
I'm like double checking. Like I didn't even see that. Did I see that one?
Yeah, Godzilla stands out much more in the ad probably. Yeah. But yeah, so it's a new one, and it's a really lackluster action platformer where you're controlling a kid trying to get his sister back from an evil magician at a carnival. And the sprite art in it is actually pretty good. It's like there's some way too long cutscenes and shit at the start that look pretty good. There was one with a really creepy ass clown I posted on the socials, and it absolutely killed it in the retro game porn subreddit. But yeah, some really good looking artwork, but the gameplay is dog shit. It's so bad.
There you go. There you go.
So yeah, we don't need to talk about that anymore. We get a Solstice ad as well. And I know, and I wish, bro, but no, can't do it. Sorry. And then we've been skipping it for a long while.
The World Championships, Josh. It was at the Nintendo World Championships.
Yeah, so
does that mean anything to you?
So is Rollerball or whatever that HAL game is. But we've been skipping it for a long time, and it's just been the same old shit. But those fucking crooks behind the Ultimate Game Club ads, they're always in here, have expanded the business from just a direct mailing sign-up disguised as a dogshit club membership, and I can't not fixate on this a little bit. They've added a 1-900 tip line and an official, in quotations, hint book. So
the ultimate hint book.
Right. So they the hint line shit, the 1-900 line, it's called the copy reads, call the Ultimate Game Club's private hint line featuring Captain Ultimate and his video rangers with all the answers to all your favorite video questions. And they go into a slew of other shitty pre-recorded offerings. This is 95 cents a minute, right? And then the hint book copy reads, buy the Ultimate Game Club's official hint book with over 250 pages and 1,001 hints jammed into an easy read format. This limited edition encyclopedia to the world of video games, making you the ultimate game player in your neighborhood. And this is, to buy this, it's $9.95 plus postage or $14.95 if you're not a member of their shitty club. And I hate these fucks. They trigger me so much, dude. I hate these motherfuckers. Like, it's such a bullshit thing. It's so bullshit. And I cannot believe.
Did you fall for them a lot, Josh?
No, I did mail. I would mail. I did. I never signed up for this one because I didn't have GamePro, but I would mail in for shit. Yeah, all the time. Like anytime. I don't know. There was. That's a funny childhood thing worth touching on too. Yeah, like, I was very. Anytime I could enact my own autonomously conduct business, or not autonomously, but autonomously on my own, without my parents, without needing to involve parental guidance or help or approval or whatever, anything. If I could mail in cash for something and get my hands on $4, and have some shit sent to me, so I'm getting mail, basically there was a part of me that wanted to conduct business. as a child, and anytime I could do that in my own way, I would absolutely engage it, for sure. So yeah, the things in the back of comic books and shit, for sure, I would mail in for shit and be all too eager to get it. And of course,
funny. I never did any of these things. I just skipped past them, just
dude,
just move on.
Couldn't get enough. Even into my teens, the Columbia House shit, I was all over. Tape a penny to that shit. Oh yeah, let's fucking do it.
I did garbage, just immediately, just not even looking at it.
Oh my god, fuck it, yeah. And I remember the first time they're showing up and fucking MIKE, all pissed off, what the fuck? I'm gonna be a fucking responsible. No, man, I got it under control. Don't worry about it.
It's only a penny. This is good.
yeah, don't worry about it. I'll send the things back. Don't worry. I can send them back. Yeah, it's fine. It'll be fine. Don't fucking worry about it. So yeah, maybe that is. I hadn't thought about it, but maybe that is some sort of scarring that bothers me so much about them. But I don't know. Just the fact that it's kids mag and the level of bullshit they're feeding you in those ads is really off-putting. But in Pro News Report, there is some cool shit going on here. They mentioned Nintendo established a research fund at MIT with an initial endowment of $3 million they gave them that will support research and development of learning tools that look and feel more like Nintendo games than school books. So, edutainment to trick kids into learning shit, and that's a good plan, and it might have some legs. I like it. There is a personal computing company called Duo, and they announced a family computer that is both Nintendo and IBM software compatible. And I saw this and I was like, oh my God. Like, I would have loved the diskettes and Nintendo? Holy shit. Fucking give that to me now.
Ultimate power.
Yeah. Oh my God. So yeah, I looked this up and couldn't find a peep about it on the internet though. So I'm guessing this was a pipe dream that never made it to fruition. Sadly, but it does sound hot. And then we have Sega of America's Phantasy Star 2 on Genesis was recently chosen as 1990's inductee into the Software Hall of Fame, Jay. Hall of Famer. Hall of Famer video game. And
I'd like to know what the population of games were chosen for the Hall of Fame. I'd like an inquiry into this decision.
into the selection process and how judicious they were in their selections. That's a fair request. And they actually have Game Ep alum Phantasy Star 1 on the SMS was a runner-up for the second year in a row. So both of them are in here. And the fact that the one's returning in subsequent years, which seems maybe like that actually, now that I say that out loud, kind of makes me question the selection process too. But
we've played several Genesis games by now. Several Sega games.
Well, just the fact that it's returning a second year, like, should that be? I hate award shows, but that's not even possible on most award situations, right? I don't know. I would think it would need to be, because it's like when you submit to festivals, like most festivals require that the completion date of the project you're selecting is within a certain window, so it's applicable for the particular festival year.
Like, unless you're going straight up like sales, and it's like somehow still top 5 in sales or something, which would be crazy to me. But
that would be possible.
I don't know.
That would be very possible, especially for the SMS, which again, the kids who are straggling on that. Yeah, but the only way I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. The only way that could work is if it was not pitted up against Nintendo. Otherwise, obviously, it would be Nintendo. So I don't know. Yeah, who knows? Yeah. We need to see your data, I guess. But either way, it's a pretty good argument for a side quest selection, Jay?
It is. Yes, I'm just trying to poke holes, but. Yeah.
So the last thing of significance in here for me was a mention of the Game Service, which is the Proto Gamefly direct mail game renting service we've seen wacky ads for in the last handful of GamePro issues. And I'd say our prediction it would evaporate quickly is now officially erroneous because we it's like 3 issues we've went here. And this Pro News mention is accompanied across the staples with a new full page ad for the service, which certainly implies they weren't full pages originally. They were smaller deals. So that would imply they're picking up steam with this. So again, it's all the more odd to me that we are unable to find any information about it anywhere. Weird. This time on the ad though, the weird rhino, dino, whatever, he's sitting atop a weird planet or maybe a rotting nut, I'm not sure, but he's watching his little portable TV that doesn't have shit to do with video games by our measure on top of that, and still doesn't make any sense, but good for them. Maybe
I give it 2 episodes. I give it 2 episodes, 2 magazines, 2 issues more,
and it's gone.
It's got to be gone.
That's
got to be gone.
We should do a
Put
betting
calendar.
Should do a betting pool.
Yep, over under.
Over under 2. Okay, 2 issues. I'll August, September, October. I'll take the over there. I'll take the over.
All right.
Okay. Put it on the board. Put it on the whiteboard. Our hot neon pastel Toys R Us ad for this issue is up next, and this one is pitching the Game Boy with the headline "Get a Grip." And Toys R Us is coming back, man. Did you fucking know that? Toys R Us, these stores are coming back. They're back. They're out of bankruptcy, and they're coming back.
They're coming back?
Yeah, you didn't know this? Okay.
I did not know this.
Yes. So Macy's flagship locations are getting them. 9 locations had opened as of early August when I was doing my research here. And I noticed one of the 9 is in LA, as you would expect it to be. It's at the Thousand Oaks Macy's. And I'm fucking going to that bad boy. I'll check it out and be the boots on the ground correspondent for that for sure. So that's
a Toys R Us kid. We need some live footage.
I'll be the boots on the ground. I'll check it out. Report back to the disciples. And after that, we have a Clax full pager and Ultra's Quarth on Game Boy to close us out. And GamePro 13 is in the books.
That is the Funhouse theme from Mickey Mousecapade on the NES, bringing us into our favorite section, the nominations. But this time, I don't know what to think, because there were not strong choices, in my opinion.
Okay. What
But,
were they? What were they? What were your nominations?
So first we're going Super Dodgeball. Second we're going Truxton. I will always put it on the list. And then Solstice.
Not doing so.
So we got Wizards, we got Sports, and we got some flying shooter goodness.
Okay.
Based on what you're saying, I'm thinking we got some Clax, we got some Cyberball.
Clax is not in here. That's a good guess though. Clax is interesting. I don't know. Yeah, I didn't. Did we do? I feel like we did a puzzle. Did we do a puzzle recently? I don't know. There was some reason that it was like Clax, not a good choice. But I do like Clax. But no, yes, I have Cyberball. You're correct on that. Cyberball is here. I have Iron Sword, so the Wizards and Warriors sequel. And I have Herzog's Way. We haven't...
What?
That's a totally new format. Herzog's Way is a totally new format that we have not done. We haven't done a football game yet. So that's to me, that's an argument for Cyberball.
I think given our dual love of football, you with the people who get paid and me with the people who play for the love of the game.
That should,
considering the time of the year
that are being stolen from by not being paid. Yes.
Yes. It's now starting to get paid. But no, it's not enough. But yeah, I think we should do. I'd definitely be down for the Cyberball.
Okay.
Just because of its uniqueness and differentness, and it looks cool enough where I'm like, yeah, I feel like I could get into that, you know.
Okay, and that we 1000% have to figure out playing head to head on that for sure too. Because I'm sure that gameplay mode would be great. Okay, yeah, I do not need to. I have no inclination whatsoever to push off that. So Cyberball it is. So we will we'll play that next, and then we are going to. Oh my god, I didn't update the fucking thing here. What are we doing next? I don't even know what we're doing next.
I didn't
update this part. I have Sega Mania issue 1. We're definitely not doing that issue next after this game episode. So we probably are going back to Nintendo Power.
Nintendo Power 14?
Yeah, something like that. Probably Nintendo, if not another GamePro. We definitely don't have the Sega Visions coming up. I don't think that's why we did the Sega Mania last time. So yeah, probably Nintendo. Whatever. It's not like we have any idea what we're doing here. So after we do that, we'll do a mag up on that, and then you can subscribe to the pod on the platform provided whatever dumbass coming there of your pottery. Please rate and leave positive shit for the pod on whatever platform you listen to if you enjoy our nonsense. The website is nyhentertainment.com/ISOH pod. You can email us directly at isohpodcast@gmail.com. You can follow the pod and banter with us on the Facebook page, the Instagram, the subreddit, and talk shit to us about our gameplay videos on the YouTube. The links to all those will be in the show notes. We don't have a Patreon, but if you'd like even one of the things podcasters tell you to, or would like to do so at our direction, the Able Gamers Foundation creates custom gaming rigs for gamers with disabilities. That's cool as fuck. AbleGamers.org is where you can find them. There are t-shirts on the website. They're dope, and proceeds on those after pod expenses go to Able Gamers. I'm wearing one right now. Jay thinks football is more important. But, Jay, what are your socials?
Gentleman JB without the second E is my gamer tag, and where you can find me on Instagram and Facebook.
I'm on Twitter at Josh Folan. I'm on Instagram at MyShiftKeyIsBroke. I'm on Oculus at MyShiftKeyIsBroke. Okay, bye. Go Wheels.